for rent, bills, and vandalism to her property. April says Christopher intimidated her by displaying weapons.
Yeah, this is case number 341 on the calendar in the matter of Moore versus McDonald.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Ms. Moore, the defendant was a tenant of yours, according to your complaint, and it is your claim that when you told him to move, he refused to pay rent and then trashed the apartment before he left. You want him to pay for the damage. Mr. McDonald says that you made the place untenable. He couldn't live there. He was forced to move, and he caused no damage to your apartment, right? Mm-hmm. Was this a house or an apartment?
It was a house, Your Honor.
You were renting rooms in the house?
I was renting one bedroom to Chris.
Had you ever done that before?
Yes.
When did you rent the room to Mr. McDonald?
Mr. McDonald moved in on August 15th.
Did he sign a lease?
Yes.
How long was the lease?
It was not for a contractual period. It was a month-to-month agreement.
How did you find him?
I found him. I placed an ad online, which was maybe not the smartest decision in hindsight, but I was trying not to lose my house after my husband left.
What was the rent arrangement, Mr. McDonald?
$400 plus a third of the bills with a $100 security deposit.
So you moved in on August 15th. Did you pay rent for August?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he pay rent for August?
Yes, Your Honor.
What about September?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you move out?
I moved out October 27th, I believe.
Did you pay her October?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because on September, I believe, 24th, I received a call from my godfather stating that he received a call from her. She went into my room and found a BB gun and was panicking about finding a BB gun in my room. I had my actual weapon with me. I have a 9mm in my truck at the time. So I knew it wasn't my 9mm.
Shh. Just a minute. You have a weapon.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you need a gun?
Basically, it's a Second Amendment right. I'm allowed to own a weapon.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Do you have any special need for it?
No, for personal protection.
Okay. So she called you whatever and said that you found the gun. She was uncomfortable. And so?
And then the next day, I received another call up at work. Apparently, she went into my room for some reason or another. I suspect basically snooping because she found the gun.
Don't tell me what you suspect. Just tell me what the call said and from whom you received it.
From her. She wanted to know why I'm hoarding mass weapons of destruction, was her exact words.
Okay.
Okay. And I told her, basically, I've owned the weapons since I moved in, and that I can discuss this with her when I'm not at work. And at that point, she informed me that, no, it's not up for discussion. I want you out sooner than 30 days. And I just said, okay.
Okay, so?
So I also let her know that I would not be paying rent due to the fact that I had to put deposits down on an apartment, you know, electrical deposits, you know, all that stuff.
Your Honor, he's lying.
Judge, I know you raised your hand, but I did not acknowledge you to speak.
I apologize.
Mr. McDonald, you have to pay October's rent. Unless your agreement required a 30-day notice, which she didn't give you.
The lease did require a 30-day notice.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Okay. Here's the lease agreement. It also says all roommates will respect others' belongings and privacy.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
I can read. I want to look at one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I may be missing it because I'm reading it quickly. Will you please point out the line where she has to give you 30 days notice? It says you have to give her 30 days notice. Point out the line where she has to give you 30 days notice.
I don't see it in here, Your Honor.
It's not in there, Mr. McDonald. That contract that you signed, and since pretty much you know the law because you know the Constitution, it doesn't say she has to give you 30 days notice.
By Texas state law, she's
Don't tell me
required.
Texas state law. You're not in Texas. So you have to pay her October's rent.
Okay.
It's not her problem that you had to put money down elsewhere. You know, that's the agreement that you signed. You could have put in there, listen, I have to give you 30 days notice. You've got to give me 30 days notice.
I didn't expect her to be psycho.
Then you wouldn't want to live with a psycho, right?
Oh, no.
Very good. So there are alternatives. Go live in a motel if you don't want to live with a psycho, but if you live in a house, you have to pay rent, right? Now, let's talk about the vandalism. Next, let me see pictures of the vandalism.
Yes, Your Honor.
You wanted him out because you felt uncomfortable because of the weapons, Miss Moore?
Yes.
What were you doing snooping around in his room?
I was not snooping. I was trying to prepare my house to get it on the market so that I could sell it.
Miss Moore, that's just fine, sweetheart, as long as you don't rent out parts of your house to somebody else. Then you can't prepare it by going into their room. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor. He was aware that I was going to paint, though.
Listen to me. You can paint. You can do whatever you want. You weren't going into his room to paint.
Yes, Your Honor, I was.
You had your paintbrush all ready to go?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't believe you.
I did.
Listen. Listen.
I did.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I think you went in there and you snooping around.
No, Your Honor, I did not.
Well, that's what happened. You found things in there because you went in there. Okay. So he's got guns and knives. That's what he likes.
Your Honor, those were never displayed until I gave him a notice to vacate, and then he was visually trying to intimidate me with those.
Well, why did you give him a notice to vacate before you saw the weapons?
I gave him
Just
notice
curious.
to vacate because he was leaving my house unlocked. He was a slob. It was clear that I wasn't going to be able to sell my house with him living in it.
Got it. Is this his room?
Yes.
Is this how he left it, or is this
That's
when
how
he was
lived
living
in it.
there?
That's when he was living there.
You get an F for neatness, Mr. McDonald. You get an A for Constitution and F for neatness. Where did you move from? From an apartment, sir?
I actually moved from my uncle's house out in Tonopah, Arizona.
Was he neat? Mm-hmm. Were you sloppy in his house, too?
No, ma'am.
Why were you so sloppy in her house?
Pretty much, I was working close to 16 hours a day with that, and when I got home, honestly, I was tired.
You rented to a slob.
I learned that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The sheriff had to tell her 12 times, where's the handgun?
And his handgun was never removed from the premises. I put it in the garage in the closet because I feared for my safety.
And later today,
The two people who do not have a legally binding contract, like a marriage certificate, to open up a joint bank account is the dumbest thing. Listen out there, youngsters.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. April Moore claims former tenant Christopher McDonald owes for rent, bills, and damage to her home. April says Christopher is obsessed with guns.
Okay. Now, there came a time, according to your complaint, Ms. Moore, that you felt uncomfortable, so you moved out of the house for a while. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
When did you move out?
It's hard to say it wasn't official. I started staying
October
with
3rd.
my friend Angie here in the beginning of October, end of September. Nobody felt safe with me in the house with him. He's got a criminal record about 12 pages long.
Listen to me.
Yes.
Listen to me. You moved out the end of September, the beginning of October, until they moved out.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You have an estimate for the cleanup of the house?
Yes. I also have bills for the utilities when I was not staying in the house because I feared for my safety.
I'm not interested in those.
Okay.
Give them back
First
to her.
packet. These are receipts for having the house rekeyed and recleaned and...
Do you have his security deposit?
Yes.
Okay, so that takes care of rekeying.
One time. It was rekeyed 3 times, Your Honor.
How many times did you rekey the house, Mr. McDonald?
I rekeyed the house once when I came home and had to call the sheriff due to the fact that I was locked out. And when the sheriffs told her that she needed to give me a key so I can lock the doors, she informed them no, she would not give me a key, and no, she would not return the handgun that she had stolen. The sheriff had to tell her 12 times, where is the handgun? And each time she told him, I'm not going to tell you.
And his handgun was never removed from the premises. I put it in the garage in the closet because I feared for my safety.
Do you have your handgun now, sir?
Not on me.
No, do you have it now?
Yes, ma'am.
I know you wouldn't get in here with it. All right, listen to me, madam. You pay to have the windows cleaned yourself. His problem is not having to re-clean and make your house spick and span. His problem is that he has to take care of the cleaning that's over and above normal wear and tear, and I'm going over these bills very carefully. Who are you living with now, by the way, sir?
I had to get a duplex with Corey, the other roommate.
Is he neat too, or is he a slob?
No, he's neat. But right now, if you walked into our house, it's beautiful.
Her place should have been beautiful too. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $819. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She might have been concerned about who she had rented her room to, but, you know, that's something she should have considered beforehand.
I don't want a criminal living under my roof with a 12-page-long criminal record, including assault on a family member.
I do have a criminal history, not 12 pages long, though.
I don't want that armed and dangerous and in my house with me.
I do have assault, small stuff like that. No felonies, though.
22-year-old Tanya Thomas and her husband Jason are suing Tanya's mother, Kathy McAfee, for making false charges to Child Protective Services.
Yeah, this is case number 575 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas versus McAfee.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
This is your mother, Miss Thomas, is that
Yes,
right?
it is.
And this is your boyfriend?
This is my husband.
When were you married?
February 15th of 2007.
You have one child?
I have a daughter and he has a son.
You have one
Yes.
child. And it is your claim that your mother made false allegations against the two of you to Child Protective Services. You consider that defamation and you want her to be responsible for paying you damages. Your mother says that she really had the primary responsibility for a long time in raising your daughter until recently. And when you married and when you took up residence with Mr. Thomas, she had legitimate concerns over the child's welfare based upon things that the child told her. You and Mr. Thomas were married February 15th?
Mm-hmm.
How old is your daughter?
She's now 3.
How long have you and Mr. Thomas been living together?
Almost about maybe 7 months.
Did your daughter live with your mother?
No, she did not. I lived with my mother for a short time, and her and I lived there together.
When was that?
That was off and on from the time she was born. We lived together from 04 to 05, and then a couple months in 05, and then last March of 06, we moved back into my mom, and I moved out into my brother's house of June of 06.
So you were in and out of your mother's home for substantial periods of time with your daughter?
Yes.
Without Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Were you working?
Off and on I was, yes, I did.
When you were working, who watched your daughter?
I had a friend of mine, her name is Ruthie.
What about your mother? Shh, just a second. I'll get to you in a second. What about your mother? Did she ever watch your daughter?
Yes, off and on.
Of course. When I ask you a question, I'm supposed to get an answer, not what you think you would like the reality to be, but what the actual reality was, Miss Thomas. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
So when you went to work, who watched your daughter?
My mom and
Okay. You get where I'm going? Mm-hmm. Good. Did you leave your mother's house on good terms?
Yes, I did.
Is that right?
Yes, she did.
Good.
And I had Abby at the time. When she moved in with her brother Joe, I still continued to have Abby so that she could work.
In June of 06, Abby, who was the child, was living with you?
Yes.
Until when?
I had sometimes she'd go home on the weekends with her mom, but most of the time I had her Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends, clear up until Tuesday, September 12th.
What happened on Tuesday, September 12th?
They had Abby for the weekend.
Who's they?
Tanya and Jason. And when I went to set Abby on the potty, because I was potty training her, Abby started crying and jumped off the toilet and held herself. And so I pulled her pants up, I got her something, a snack, and I went out on the swing on our deck and sat there to talk to her. She wanted to play games and sing songs. She didn't want to talk about it anymore. So then when Tanya come on Thursday to pick Abby up, I said, Tanya, have you noticed a difference in Abby's potty training? She said, yes, I want to talk to you about that. She said, when I come home on Saturday, Abby was sitting in her room cross-legged and she was crying. I asked her what happened and she said, Jason. So she said when Jason come out of the bathroom, that he said that Abby was crying because she couldn't get in to go to the bathroom. And I said, well, Tanya, do you think anything with that? And Tanya got mad and she said, no, there you are, your crazy mind and your stupid things, there you go. She got in her car and she left.
That was September 12th?
Yes, well, September 14th.
Okay.
And then on September 15th, she came to pick Abby up. And she kept trying to get Abby to go with her, and Abby wouldn't go with her. And finally, Tanya said, we'll go to McDonald's. And Abby was riding her bicycle, or tricycle, and she said, Mama, you go to McDonald's and bring it back. And so Tanya got Abby and took her home with her. Come Monday, I got sick, and I was sick for 9 or 10 days. And my sister Becky called me from Fort Wayne to know what was going on. I told her. And she said, you need to make a report.
You made a report?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Then
To
you
the police.
thought that there was something that was potentially problematic.
Right.
Okay. The question I have for you, Miss Thomas, is your mother called to make a report to Child Protective Services because of something that your daughter had said to her.
Mm-hmm. My daughter's only 2 at the time.
Doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
She's very smart. I'm sorry.
Doesn't make any difference. I believe that based upon whatever little bits your daughter said to her, your mother had what she perceived to be a legitimate concern. What?
I have paperwork here of the police report that she made that says she waited 2.5 weeks to make this allegation.
Right. She just told me that.
I was sick.
She just told me that, Mr. Thomas. You think that that mitigates the problem? She tried to get her daughter involved, and her daughter got angry and left. That's what she told me. She said first she reported it to her daughter.
My mom did not report it to me at all.
Yes, she did, Miss Thomas. She said to you, have you had any trouble potty training Abby? She didn't report it to you that way. She was trying to be more subtle. Maybe she had to hit you over the head with her concerns. Mr. Thomas, you have children?
Yes, I do. I have custody of my son.
How long have you had custody of your son?
4 years now.
How old is he?
He'll be 7 next month.
Your mother-in-law says that you acknowledged that you put some hot sauce on Abby's fingers because she was putting her fingers in her mouth. Is that true?
I did one time, yes.
You can't do that, Mr. Thomas. That's not your prerogative.
I understand that. I went
Well,
over
you
that.
understand that now, but you think that that might be the cause of concern by her grandmother?
Well, I see where she would have concern there.
So, I want to see the report that you say that she made to the police.
I also have the CPS report if you'd like to see that.
I absolutely would. Okay. Your mother reported that she believes her 2-year-old granddaughter is being abused by her daughter and a boyfriend. She advised that she has watched her granddaughter and observed significant change since her daughter became involved with her new boyfriend. So, why does your 2-and-a-half-year-old bite her fingers?
It was just a habit that she started.
No. That's ridiculous. That's not a habit. That's as a result of something else.
Okay.
Children don't bite their fingers unless there's a problem.
Your Honor, she had also started to stutter, which she never did before.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Policemen had come to my house, and they had said that my mom had made allegations. I was a child abuser. I'm not a child abuser.
Oh, stop.
And later today,
You picked him.
I know.
I didn't
Never
pick him.
again.
I
know.
wouldn't have picked him. I guarantee you, I would not have picked him.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tanya and Jason Thomas are suing Tanya's mother, Kathy McAfee, for making false charges to Child Protective Services. Jason says Kathy accused him of physically abusing his stepdaughter.
Mr. Thomas, I'll hear the rest of what you have to tell me.
Okay, this all began when I started to buy a house from her son.
There you go. You bring that up. That has nothing to do with it.
Just don't speak.
Her son, Joey, came to me and wanted me to buy a house. They knew I was already pre-approved to buy a home, so I decided I was going to go ahead and buy this house. We closed on the house on September 13th. Now, on the closing of this house, Joey had told me that he was going to give me some money back on closing because the house wasn't in all that great a shape. So he was going to show up on the 15th. On the 14th is when we picked up Abby from her house.
15th. Sorry.
Don't speak again.
Okay.
Now, on the 17th, Joey showed up at my house. I work third shift. He shows up at my house at 11 o'clock at night. He avoided me the whole weekend.
Can we get to the point, Mr. Thomas, please?
Okay, well, he showed up after I went to work, and he brought two of his brothers, or one of his brothers and his dad, and I filed trespass warnings against him. And on the 26th, I filed a small claims court case against Joey.
I'm not hearing anything, sir.
I'm getting there. And
Well, get there fast.
on the 15th, she calls and threatens us about this CPS thing.
I did
It-
not.
No. Mr. Thomas, what do you mean she calls and threatens you about this CPS thing?
Well, she just out of the blue.
No. Did you speak to her?
Her daughter.
did.
What did you say to your mother, and what did your mother say to you?
She called on the phone, and I answered it. And this was right.
Look at me.
This was right after the police came to our house. My mom called. She was yelling
Police came to your house about what?
about my brother's the confrontation. I was avoiding.
Okay, so there was a confrontation between your brother
Well, I
and
was
your
trying
husband.
to prevent confrontation, and that's why I
Okay.
had called the
Go
police.
ahead.
And my mom had called, and I answered the phone, and she was cussing and hollering, and I'm like, what's going on? And then she was mad at me for calling the police on my brothers.
So?
And I said, I understand that, Mom. And I was trying to tell her, I said, I know how my brothers are. They like fighting. And I said, I only did that to protect my family. I did not want no fighting there because my kids were there. And she was still mad and cussing and hollering. And that's when she said, well, I'm going to get you for child abuse and everything. And she hung up.
Oh, you're under oath.
And she hung up.
No,
And then it was October 2nd. Policemen had come to my house. And they had said that my mom had made allegations. I was a child abuser.
No, your mother made allegations. Let me be very, very clear to you. You've already acknowledged that you permitted him to discipline this child in a way that I believe is inappropriate. I believe that your mother tried to talk to you well before this, when you came to pick up your daughter way back in September, about your daughter's potty training, and you left. That did happen, did it not?
No, I didn't.
Yes, it.
Oh, yes, it did. Oh, yes, it did. I don't think she said the word abuse. I believe she said to you having difficulty potty training Abby.
She never came to me about it, I swear.
She didn't come to you. You were at her house.
I came to her house on the 14th to pick up my daughter. My daughter was fine. My daughter left with me fine. I'm not a child abuser.
Let me ask you this question. Did your daughter ever say that she wanted to stay at your mother's house and you said, we'll go and get McDonald's?
No.
That never happened
No,
either?
we were going home. I took her home, but we never went to McDonald's or nothing.
No, I didn't say that you go to McDonald's. I said, did you say to your daughter, we'll go and get McDonald's?
No.
Yes, I did, Tanya.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Anything else you want to say to me, Mr. Thomas? I'm still listening to you, sir.
I just don't understand how these allegations could be made. She made allegations that she abused her granddaughter when she was an infant. She waited, what, almost 2 years to make this allegation?
No.
She waited almost 2.5 weeks to make that. You know, child molesting to me, Your Honor, is a very serious thing. Very serious.
And very subjective sometimes, Mr. Thomas.
I don't understand.
Well, I'll explain it to you, sir. When Child Protective Services takes a report, they say, well, has there ever been any indication historically that a parent acted in either a neglectful or abusive way to a child? What she said was her daughter shoved Abby when she was little. Yes. What she's really complaining about, and she was, oh, stop it. What she's really complaining about now is that her daughter is taking a passive role, not protecting her child. She's not claiming that her daughter physically abused her. The report says, sir, that you physically abused her once, that you would acknowledge by putting stuff on her hands to prevent her from biting her hands, which is an unnatural thing for a 2-year-old to do. You acknowledge that.
Yes.
And the second is she believed that there was some question as to whether or not her granddaughter was being abused in another physical way. And she has an absolute responsibility to report that.
So why didn't she do it right away? That's my question.
Because I'm answering your question, even though there's no basis for me to have to answer your questions. She tried to resolve, at least looking into the matter, with her daughter, who is emotional.
That was a lie, Your Honor.
No, I don't believe that, sir.
It was a lie.
I don't believe it. It's my job to figure out what's the truth and what's not, and who's telling the truth and who's not. And I'm telling you, your wife's statement to me is not truthful. All I have to say to you is you have to keep a very vigilant eye. You have one responsibility, and your one responsibility is to your daughter. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
I don't know who he is. I assume he's a nice man. But if the person who has been caring for your child more than anybody else other than you says to you, I have a question as to whether or not this little girl is being adequately cared for when you're not around, you have to watch that and not complain about it. And you certainly don't sue her about it. I would sue her if she didn't file the complaint. The fact that the Department of Child Protective Services chose to resolve this matter without even having the child physically examined is bizarre, to say the least. Bizarre. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm sorry that she's upset, but, you know, I had to do what I had to do because I tried to talk to her, and I have to worry about my granddaughter.
My mom said that I was a child abuser. And I'm not.
That woman's a liar.
I swear to God, I'm not a child abuser. My daughter loves me.
She won't let me see her, but whether I can see Ivy anymore or not, it doesn't matter. It matters that he doesn't do anything, or whoever done it doesn't do anything.
I'm the most hated son-in-law in the country, I'm sure.
If I was a bad mom, I wouldn't have her right now.
23-year-old college basketball player Tabitha McClammy is suing her teammate, 24-year-old January Johnson, for beating her up in the locker room after a game.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 583 on the calendar in the matter of McClammy versus Johnson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
You two ladies are on a women's basketball team, is that right?
That's correct.
And it is your claim, Ms. McClammy, that the defendant assaulted you in the locker room after a game?
That's correct.
Ms. Johnson says that you started it.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me when this happened.
December 6, 2005.
And how long had you been teammates?
For a year and a half.
In high school?
No, 2 years in college.
Had you had any trouble with each other?
The past November of 04, yes.
November of 04?
Yes.
Not true.
Shh, don't interrupt. What happened in November of 04?
November 04. I told the coach I had some financial situations that I was, not going to be able to play that year. And he said, it was okay if you can come maybe 3 times a week for practice. You're not going to be able to start. And he said, if you can't make it, then just come and support the team. So I said, okay. November 04, they had a scrimmage at Polytech, downtown Brooklyn, New York. The team was in the locker room, and I was getting dressed. He gave me a uniform to give me, to get dressed. And she replied to me, "Tabby, are you getting dressed? Are you playing?" I said, "I'm not too sure. I'm just supporting the team." And she said to me, "Oh, how are you going to play when everyone, came to practice on time and you haven't came?" And I said, "January, it's not like that." I said, "If you want to talk about it, we can talk about this privately. It's not like that. I'm just here to support the team." And she got angry, got riled up to the point where she wanted to confront me and attack me in the locker room with all the teammates in the locker room. They escorted her out. I came out and I told the coach what happened, and she said, "Well, just don't leave, just support the team."
Okay, now I understand. So you had words a year before.
Absolutely.
When you told the coach that you couldn't play, was that because you were getting a job?
Yes, I was working to support my financial needs.
So you were working while you were in college?
Right, absolutely.
Were you living at home?
I was living I was in foster care.
Still in college?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Perfect. What college do you go to?
York College in New York.
What year are you in?
I'm in my senior year. I'll be graduating June 1st.
And you?
The same.
Great. Okay, so now tell me what happened on December 6th.
December 6th, it was, we went into the locker room, and I was getting dressed.
This was before the game or after?
This is after the game. After the game was over.
Did you win or did you lose that game?
We lost, but it's not due to because we lost.
Okay.
Just so you know, you have the same setting where I was. There's a locker room in back of me. There's one on the side. There's one in front right here. There's a bench here, and there's a bench right here on the side. And there's a way where there's another corridor where January was in a locker on the side of that.
That's Miss Johnson.
Miss Johnson, correct. I had the bottoms on. I was able to successfully put the bottoms on. I was getting ready to put the top on, and my clothes was on this bench, and I took off my sports bra. I was getting ready to reach for my bra.
I don't want you to interrupt her.
I was getting ready to reach for my bra. January came around, and she said to me, "Tabby, everyone has breasts." I said to her, "Leave me alone. Please leave me alone." She got angry, came around towards me, and started saying, "Oh, I'm tired of you telling me to be quiet." And I'm sitting here trying to cover myself, and she pushed me to the locker. So at self-defense, I tried to push her back so I can move because I was undressed. I didn't have no clothes on, no bra, no nothing on.
Gotcha.
So
Only
I
your
moved,
pants.
Right. I moved towards, because there's the bathroom, towards that way. I moved towards her. She kept coming towards me. Another teammate was in the same row as her. She came around trying to break up the fight.
Well, was there a fight at this point so far? I heard about a little pushing.
Right, she pushed me, but she came towards me while I was trying to get away from her. So while she's holding me...
Step back
I'm sorry.
to where you were.
She's holding me, and we're in the bathroom.
You mean the other teammate is holding you?
Right, she's trying to break it up. And soon I turn around, she hits me in my eye. And everything stopped, and that was it. And so the teammate said, "Look what you did." So she told the other teammate to go get the coach. The coach came in. I still didn't have no clothes. I thought I had clothes on. The coach came in, and he looked at my eye, then he looked down. I was wondering why he was looking down, realizing I didn't have no clothes on. So he went back. The lady coach came in, and she saw me, and they conversing. The man coach is conversing with her, saying...
Okay. Do you have any photographs of what
Yes,
your
I
eye
do.
looked like? I'd like to take a look at them. Was there a police report?
Yes.
I have evidence of a police report.
Oh.
Okay.
I wasn't able to get that, but I do have the charges that she was charged with and the medical bills.
Okay. You have the police report?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please.
I typed up, just in case you can't read it, it's in a very small font, so I tried to do it as best I could.
You typed it?
No, the report is there, but I just tried to make it legible, so I just typed up some of the words that I could get. Even I had questions on some of the wording.
No, I can read it just fine. I see that you did it. So
Okay.
you were arrested for third-degree assault?
Yes.
Okay. So, Ms. McClemmy, what you want is you want your medical bills paid?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Ms. Johnson.
My turn?
Your turn.
Very good. Tabitha and myself never got along, which is true. I am very intense with basketball, so I'm diligent. I work full-time as well. I work 60 hours a week, and I go to school full-time where I take 18 credits, and I made it to practice. We had no knowledge that Tabitha was going to even play on the game that November because she's had run-ins with another player prior to I even becoming on the team. So she wasn't supposed to play. We needed extra bodies. That's why she was there to play. So that November, I felt that why is someone able to play when we have to be at practice diligently, all the time, on time, and practice hard?
So, Ms. Johnson, if you had that question, why didn't you ask the coach?
I didn't even know that she was playing.
Just a second. If you had that question, why didn't you ask the coach instead of asking her?
Because I feel that we're adults. I asked her a question.
That's not up to her. It's up to the coach.
The coach never let us know that she was playing. I would have never asked.
Then that's why you would ask the coach.
Right.
You would say, that doesn't seem fair for somebody who doesn't come to practice regularly to be able to play, coach.
I did bring it up to the coach once we went upstairs when it was to my awareness that she was playing at all.
Okay, let's go to December 6th,
Yes.
2005. Go.
December 6, 2005, we had a basketball game. It's a very intense game. It's a doubleheader. The women's play first and the men play after us, so it's a very packed facility. Just to let you know, I am the star of the team. Just let that be known. And I think that's why we had so much of a problem with one another. Throughout the game, she would keep telling us, pass me the ball, I need the ball more. I'm going on my coach's instructions for us to take over and do what we have to do to make sure that the game is going to be won. I'm not saying that Tabby cannot play basketball. She's just not the most skilled.
Okay.
And that's not, shh. And I'm not the only person with the ball. It's for the women.
So she was asking for the
For the ball.
and you didn't want to give her the ball.
I didn't give her the ball.
Okay, go ahead.
So we end up losing by 2. Just to know, I had a very good game.
Good.
And I was upset at the end of the game that we lost the game. So there were a lot of emotions all throughout the team with the coaching staff.
Now, don't tell me about anybody else's emotions.
Okay,
just
I was emotional that we lost. And when we went into the locker room, no one was speaking at all. No one spoke. And when we did have this altercation...
No. Let's start with who said what to whom? Ms. Johnson.
I went to go to the bathroom. Tabitha was changing on the opposite side. She had on a sports bra. She did not have on anything.
What did you say to her?
I didn't say anything. She dramatically covered her chest as if I was doing something.
She covered her chest, and what did you say to her?
Tabby, don't worry about it. We're all girls. And then she made a statement about my sexuality.
Just a second. She covered herself wearing her sports... Listen, Miss Johnson, the star. Listen to me carefully.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Some of the other teammates ran into the locker room to separate us. At this point, I guess she already was hitting the eye.
Already hitting the eye by whom?
I don't know. With so many people, I might not have been the person who done it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. College basketball player Tabitha McClammy says former teammate January Johnson attacked her in the locker room after a game. January claims Tabitha was the aggressor.
She's wearing a sports bra.
Yes.
And you said to her in a very calm, friendly way,
yes,
we're all girls, Tabby.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry
about it.
And this is what you're telling me after you told me that there wasn't any talking in the locker because everybody was really upset. That's what you just told me, that you came back and you were really upset after the game.
I was emotional.
Well, you weren't emotional happy, were you?
No, I was sad.
Listen to me. You weren't emotional happy, were you?
No, I was
you
sad.
were emotional sad. So you were upset.
No.
Emotional sad.
Emotional sad.
All right. And then what happened?
Immediately, she said, don't effing say nothing to me. Back and forth, back and forth. I'm not...
No. Don't say anything to me, is what you said.
She said, don't effing say nothing
to me. And what did you say to her?
Shut up.
And then what did she say to you?
We were arguing. I don't know.
Just a second. Arguing back and forth. Keep going.
She's in my face. I'm in her face. We are right on top of each other. Her hands were pointing in my face. My hands were pointing in her face.
Keep going.
She pushed me. I pushed her. We started to fight. I didn't want to hit Tabby initially. I was pulling her, going into the bathroom. We were pushing each other into the bathroom. She grabbed my hair.
Now, at some point, one of the teammates...
No one came in yet at all.
When did someone come in and separate you?
When we were inside the bathroom. We were in
That's
the
what I'm asking you.
Yes.
Someone came inside and separated you.
By that time...
Just a second. Who was it?
My witness. She was one of the persons who came in, as well as the teammates came rushing in, and the coach.
And then what happened?
Audrey McAllister, who's my witness, as well as my coaching staff and some of the other teammates, ran into the locker room to separate us. At this point, I guess she already was hitting the eye.
Already hitting the eye by whom?
I don't know. With so many people, I might not have been the person who done it. I'm serious.
Really? Okay. Now, Miss Johnson, put your hand down.
I defended myself, Judge
Listen
Judy.
to me. You pled guilty to harassment.
I was tired of going to court.
You pled guilty to harassment.
Yes, I did. It dropped from assault to harassment.
And you were represented by a lawyer.
Yeah, that I had to pay $2,500 for and go $95 surcharge for a fight with a teammate.
Just a second. Do you know what it means when you plead guilty in criminal court?
Yes, I do.
Your lawyer told you that.
I was tired of going to court for something that was so minute.
Well, let me explain something to you so that you'll understand that even if your lawyer didn't explain it to you, I'm going to explain it to you now. You were charged with assault in the 3rd degree. You were represented by counsel. Your lawyer advised you at each stage of the proceeding because you paid the lawyer $2,500,
Yes.
according to you. You were found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt on an initial charge of harassment for being the aggressor. Listen to me, pay careful attention. For being the aggressor in an incident that occurred on December 6th, 2005. You were found guilty by your own admission.
Yes.
This is a civil proceeding. The quantum of proof in this proceeding is by a preponderance of evidence. Now, you're smart girls, you're going to be graduating from college soon. Beyond a reasonable doubt is evidence like this. Beyond a doubt that's based on a reason. That's what they would have had to have proven if you went to trial in this case, because that's the burden of proof and the quantum of proof, the amount of proof you need in a criminal proceeding, beyond any doubt that's based on a reason. When you plead guilty in a criminal case, you plead guilty to the same standard, beyond a reasonable doubt. So you pled guilty and were found guilty of the crime of harassment against her for an incident that occurred on December 6th, 2005. And you were found guilty and you had to pay a fine.
$95.
This proceeding, the amount of proof that you need is like this. A little more than not, because this is a civil proceeding, not a criminal proceeding. You don't get an opportunity for a second bite of the apple in a civil proceeding once you have been found guilty in a criminal proceeding beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, if the situation was reversed, let's say you were found not guilty in the criminal proceeding.
She still would be here.
She would.
Because she tries to
Listen
milk
to me,
it.
Miss Johnson, listen to me very carefully.
I
You're
wish
not
you knew
paying
this.
attention. You don't have on your listening ears. So, there isn't even an issue here.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
Tabitha tried to get a full order protection that she was not given from the very first incident. They gave her a limited order protection. However, the limited order protection, which I have a copy here, states that we can play on the same team, we can go to the same school, all these different things. And she called the cops one day, a week later, and almost had me arrested because she saw me on campus. Not to add, we had the fight on December 6th, which was a Tuesday. Tabitha played in a basketball game December 8th, which was a Thursday.
With a black eye.
To me, if you were that hurt, why were you playing in a basketball game? She could have made it worse.
Miss Johnson, my dear,
I
listen to me
defended
very
myself.
carefully. She's not even suing you for pain, suffering, and for any punitive damages. All she's suing you for are her medical bills, which I assume she can document, which are really quite modest considering I've seen the photographs and there was blood in her eye. Nothing to prevent her from playing basketball. She doesn't want you to pay punitively for hitting her. She says she wants you to pay for her medical bills. And you've already been found guilty on proof where? Way up here. Proof way down here. She doesn't have to prove anything else.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely. You're not getting it.
I am getting
And you're a
everything.
smart girl.
I just want my point across because I never was actually able to really say much. I didn't come back around the team after. And then when everything came out and different parties were talking, it was different. With everything going on and everyone talking to her like, you're dragging this out very long and, you're keeping everything going. She didn't care at all that she was keeping it going.
You mean keeping the dispute going because she kept the criminal proceeding
Yeah,
going?
and I apologized to Tabitha 2 or 3 times, which I was very sorry about. I didn't want to have,
Why did you
do that.
apologize to her?
Because some way her eye was blackened. And
right.
I was apologizing
Not some way.
that
You see,
her
Miss
eye
Johnson,
was blackened.
Miss Johnson, your problem is?
Yes.
Your problem is you are a smart, articulate girl, but you refuse to accept responsibility for the bad things that you do. You want the accolades and the praise for the good things that you do, but you don't want to say, I was wrong, because 5 minutes ago you said, I don't even know how her eye got black. Maybe somebody else did it during the scuffle. And yet you said to me, I apologized to her 3 or 4 times. You wouldn't, listen to me, you have to learn, along with the roar of the crowd and the accolades of the crowd comes some responsibility. So if you did the wrong thing and if you said to me, look, I did hit her, I was angry. We got into this scuffle. I shouldn't have hit her. I apologized 3 times for hitting her, and she should have accepted that apology right away and not dragged this matter on so that I had to pay a lawyer, and I had to go to court, and I got fed up with going to court, and I had to plead guilty. It should have all been over. If you had apologized to her,
yes,
immediately.
I did.
Well, then how come you made up an excuse here and said to me, under oath, I don't even know if I hit her. Maybe it was somebody else that hit her.
Yeah.
All right, you have to pay her medical bills, which she says are $426. Let me see.
Ah, man. I was defending myself, Judge Sheindlin. I really was.
Well, you mean somebody with your mouth was defending themselves and apologized?
I apologized.
Just a second. Was defending themselves because it was self-defense and apologized not once, twice, but according to you 3 times?
We had a
and
team
then
meeting.
Pled guilty?
We had a team meeting.
And then pled guilty in criminal
I
court?
was tired of going to court for something so small.
Don't get it. Listen to me. You only have one chance to make a first impression in this world. One chance. Your initial impression to me is a bright, articulate, soon-to-be college graduate on their way up. But there's something innately dishonest about your approach to life. And if you want to be a successful person, what you have to do is to be able to say, I have some strong suits, there are strong things about me, and there are things about me that I got to work on. And if one of them is my temper, I have to work on it.
And I went to 2 anger management class all by myself. I did that from this. I did it by myself.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $426. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out.
Oh, man. It was self-defense. She pushed me. We had a fight.
How can it be self-defense if I was, undressed?
Being that we were adults, I thought that we would come over it and surpass it, and we didn't.
If I'm, pinned up in the locker room, that's not self-defense.
And it cost me a lot, and I'm pretty sure it cost her a lot, too.
I would, she liked if somebody ripped her pants off and slapped her in the face.
It was very embarrassing about everything that happened, and my character was questioned.
She was kicked off the team. I continued to stay on the team.
I just was really embarrassed about everything.
A year later, she decided to go back. She was asked not to come back.
The drive was gone from that incident, and the fact that she still played that semester, I didn't play.
I forgive her. It's just I wanted closure.
And it was self-defense, and I don't think that she should have gotten it at all.
That's the principle that matters to me. All I wanted was closure, and I got it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gorin versus Spears, step forward, please.
20-year-old Olivia Gorin is suing her former friend, 22-year-old Jonathan Spears, for bail money after a high-speed chase.
Ms. Gorin, you posted $7,500 in bail for the defendant. You posted it, according to you, initially at the request of a friend of his. Is that right?
Yes.
With his later promise to pay you back.
Yes.
He paid you back $2,500.
Yes.
He says he never really had an agreement with you to pay you the bail. It was his friend Daniel's fault that he got arrested in the first place. It was his friend Daniel who called you to post the bail, so go ask Daniel for your money. That's your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and you're sticking to it.
Okay, yes I am.
Good. All right. When were you arrested, Mr. Spears?
I was arrested, I think it was the 8th month. I'm not so sure.
Mr. Spears?
Yeah.
How many times have you been arrested, sir?
Once. I only been arrested
then
once.
If you were arrested only one time, Mr. Spears, that date would be burned in my memory forever.
Well, no, what's burned in my memory is I got to go to jail in 2 weeks from now. That's what's burned in my memory, that I got to go.
On this case?
On this case, yes.
Then I would remember the date that I got arrested.
That's true, too. Yeah.
On what date was he arrested?
September 8th, 2005. I
There it
remember
goes.
because
September 8th.
I posted $5,000 on my credit card, and I've been paying it off ever since.
Well, where's the $7,500 from?
$2,500 I put from my savings account. $5,000 I took off on a credit card.
What were you arrested for on September 8th, Mr. Spears?
It was a high-speed chase.
High-speed chase with whom?
Police department.
The police were drag racing with you?
Something like that.
No, Mr. Spears, I'm serious. A high-speed chase with police.
Yes, it was.
No.
Sorry.
Let's start from the beginning.
Okay, we can start from the beginning. Okay. That night's Wednesday night. We was all riding bikes.
That night was a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday night. It's called bike night, where we all get together as a group and we ride down the freeway. So we was doing wheelies on the freeway at the time.
You have to talk slowly because you understand, Mr. Spears, I'm old.
Okay. Who was doing?
You were doing wheelies.
Yes.
Not willies. Wheelies?
Yes.
Wheelies.
Okay.
On the
We
freeway.
were playing on the bike.
On the freeway.
On the freeway. On the way to bike night.
Were you alone on the freeway with your friends?
Yes, we was.
So there weren't.
Oh no, there was other cars and stuff.
I want you to be quiet. I want you to let him dig this grave all by himself. Do you understand?
Yes.
So that night, Wednesday night.
You're doing the wheelies on the freeway.
No, it wasn't me. It was, the group that I was.
The group are doing the wheelies
Yeah,
on the
we
freeway.
was, you know.
I got it.
Okay, so we was going, okay. All of a sudden, the police pulled behind the whole group, and then I take off.
Yes.
I jumped in front of my friend Daniel, because he didn't have a license or registration at the time, and I did. So the cop pulled me over about 6 or 7 miles after he turned his lights on. So I pull over, I get arrested. I call Daniel.
What were you arrested for?
Evading a police officer. So,
shh.
But
shh. I have to write this down. I don't want to forget anything that you're telling me, Mr. Spears. So, evading a police officer. Now, why do you think the police officer was behind you in the beginning? If you had to speculate, did you think the police officer thought you were endangering the public by doing wheelies on the freeway?
I wasn't doing a wheelie.
You told me everybody was doing the
wheelies.
They
was doing the wheelies. I was just behind them. They was doing the wheelies. I was just behind them. I pulled in front of Daniel.
Just a second. Well, I did not.
Shh. But I pulled in front of Daniel.
I misunderstood you, sir. Perhaps you misspoke. You said we were doing wheelies on our way to bike night.
My friends were
I
doing
assumed
wheelies.
that when you said we were doing the wheelies, you were all doing the wheelies.
No, not all
But
of us.
you weren't doing the wheelies.
I wasn't doing the wheelies.
You're not a wheelie doer.
No, I'm not a wheelie doer. I don't do wheelies.
At least on September 8th, you weren't doing wheelies.
On that day, I wasn't doing.
Okay. So,
but we were,
now let's shut. Listen, this is my playpen, Mr. Spears. What do you do for a living, sir?
I do plumbing.
When you're in the bathroom, that's your playpen. The courtroom is my playpen.
Okay.
So we're going to do this my way.
Okay, can I finish?
No, we do this my way. So let me understand this. You and your friends, including your friend Daniel, are on your way to bike night on the freeway. The other members of your bike group are doing wheelies.
Yes.
You are sort of behind them, watching them doing wheelies, driving.
On the side.
I'm speaking behind them, because that's what you said. You said you were behind them.
I was on the side of them. The freeway's big. I was on the side of them.
No, you said you were behind them because you said you got up in front of your friend Daniel.
Daniel was in front of us.
Yeah, right. Who's us?
The group.
So it was just Daniel who was doing the wheelies?
No. The group was doing the wheelies, but Daniel was on the right-hand side.
So all the group was doing wheelies except you?
Yep.
They must have thought you were a chicken guy. Not doing wheelies like but I told you.
Look, so
I
we
told
was doing
you,
wheelies.
I'm going to have this sport all by myself. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. Now you got arrested because, according to you,
I just pulled in front of Daniel.
You wanted to protect your friend Daniel, who had no license.
Yes, no registration.
So you got in front of him, and you distracted the police so that Daniel could get away.
He exited the freeway at Laura Canyon. He exited the freeway.
And you led the police on a high-speed chase so that Daniel could get away.
It wasn't really like a high-speed chase. They just followed me for a little bit. Okay, so after they was following me, I had pulled over. And I got arrested. I called Daniel. Daniel said he's going to bail me out. Okay, fine. He said he's going to bail me out. Cool, all right. For what I did for him, I'm thinking it's a favor, you know? So, okay, cool. He bails me out. He didn't tell me who he got the money from, so I can't assume where he got the money from, so I'm not knowing. Okay, he bails me out.
Got the money from the bail ferry.
Hey, he got the money from the bail ferry. My dad put up the house, so now we're here.
I have a feeling that this would have been a lot shorter if you'd have just let him tell this story, because this is what he was going to tell you no matter what.
Yeah, but I managed to get him in front of 10 million people.
Yeah.
Okay, so Daniel calls you, you put up the money. Mr. Spears gets his get-out-of-jail card from you and ultimately gives you $2,500.
Out of my kindness of my heart.
Shh.
Oh.
I told you, the bathroom is your playpen. The courtroom is my playpen. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Now, when did he give you the $2,500?
2 days after I posted bail, and he knew that I was
Don't tell me what he knew.
to post bail.
Don't tell me what he knew. Where were you when he gave you the $2,500?
I was at work.
Tell me how that happened.
He actually gave it to Daniel, who gave it to me.
See?
He never handed you the money.
He didn't.
When, for the first time after September 8th, 2005, did you see Mr. Spears?
A couple weeks later when I called him.
Couple of weeks later.
Right.
So you'd already received $2,500 from Daniel.
From me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That made my life much easier. So you gave Daniel the $2,500 to give to Miss Gorin.
Yes.
Thereby acknowledging your debt. Thank you very much. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000.
Parties are excused.
Thank you.
You may step out.
I'm happy and I learned my lesson. Don't trust your friends.
Daniel borrowed the money, so he bailed me out. He was supposed to pay the money back. I was gonna help him. Now all of a sudden, you see what I'm saying?
I knew he had a family. I knew he had, problems. So I was just being nice and helping him out.
I received a benefit, but I got out of jail.
We hung out a couple times. He was very nice, and we had barbecues and never smoked or drank. I never thought that, he would amount to something stupid like this.
If I give you 25 and all of a sudden you want another 5,000, I can't do that.
Obviously, he's not a trustful person.
I'll give her money and all of a sudden she just need more money at the time.
He evaded the police, the government, so I think he's getting what he deserves.
270 days for evading a police officer.
That's not really my problem. He's the one that evaded. He's the one that ran. He's the one that, pulled the police behind him, so it's all him.
I pulled in front of a police officer, I get the blame for it.
Oh, I've learned my lesson. I'm very careful with who I trust and who I don't trust.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Saldana versus Martinez. Step forward.
20-year-old Sergio Saldana is suing his ex-girlfriend, Yesenia Martinez, for the return of a promise ring and for damage to his car.
How old are you, Miss Martinez?
I'm 19.
Mr. Saldana, you say that this lady used to be your girlfriend. You gave her what you called a promise ring. And you broke up, you want the promise ring back. You also say she was in your car, and when she was driving, she scratched your bumper. You wanted to fix the bumper.
That's correct.
I'm going to deal with this very quickly so that you can go on with your life and do other things. When did you buy her the promise ring?
I bought her the promise ring, I believe, June 13th.
And when did you give it to her?
I gave it to her on the day of her birthday.
Say goodbye to the promise ring, Mr. Saldana.
Your Honor, but the promise ring, it was
Mr.
a symbol
Saldana,
of our love.
I know what a promise ring is, sir. It's given when you say, I promise that I'm going to love you, and you promise you're going to love me, and we're only going to go out with one another, we're going to be together. Just so happens this promise ring was given to her on her birthday. Listen to me. She doesn't love you anymore. She doesn't want to be with you anymore. Kiss it goodbye. Now,
Judge Judy,
let's get to your bumper.
All right, my bumper, sometime in April of 2006.
Just a second. Was this April 2006 before you gave her the promise ring?
Yes, that is correct.
After she scratched your bumper, you gave her a promise ring that said what?
Under the condition that she would pay it back.
No.
Pay me back for the damage.
Listen
the
to
damage.
me. Mr. Saldana, listen to me very carefully, sir. The promise ring you were going to tell me a moment ago said what?
It was a symbol of a relationship, and we're relatively young, and we planned a future together. And so we didn't want to be engaged for a period of 5 to 6 years or however long it would take. So the promise ring was a stepping stone in order to get to the engagement ring, because we did see a future together.
And you gave her that ring for her birthday 2 months after she scratched your bumper. And what did he say to you when you scratched his bumper?
I said, I offered to pay. I said, yeah,
Speak up. I can't hear you, and I don't want to strain. This is not my last case today.
I offered to pay for the bumper, but he said, don't worry about it. We could probably buff this out.
Your Honor, that's not true. I did not say that.
What did you say, sir? No, look at me.
I was in Fairfield at the time. We had lived in Sacramento together, and she had borrowed my car to go to work without me even knowing. And I guess, I don't know, women that really don't know how to drive too well, she hit the wall of a parking garage.
You're right.
Cracking the bumper.
That's right. So she said to you, I'll pay you for the bumper, and you said to her, according to her, don't worry, we can probably have it buffed out. Now, you say that's not true. So you tell me what you said to her, Mr. Saldana.
I said, you need to pay for the bumper. You took the car without even asking. And she said, all right, I'll pay for it. But that never happened. And after we broke up, I called her and asked her about it. And she said, well, we're no longer together, so I don't need to pay for that.
Miss Martinez says you have to move on. I agree with her. Let me see the bumper damage that you claim she did, just for my own curiosity.
I got an estimate, and it was
I didn't ask you for an estimate.
$2,000, Your Honor.
I didn't ask you for an estimate.
The car was in pristine condition, immaculate.
So
The Kelly Blue Book price was $11,000, and since the damage has gone down around $8,000.
Good. Go buff it out. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Nonsense.
We had our ups and downs through our whole almost 2 years relationship.
We had our ups and downs, like she said.
He was just rude and just rude.
She was just accusing me of cheating, arguing, and that's how it ended. She broke it off.
We were just different.
Man, we had to plan a future together. This was a promise ring.
This is my ring. It's a birthday present.
We were just young enough, and we didn't want it to be an engagement for 5 or 6 years, a stepping stone.
At first it was a happy birthday, then after a couple days it's a promise ring, but it's still a birthday present to me.
She needs to grow up.
No, I don't.
I need to deal with adults, leave the kids at home.
Bears is suing his ex-wife, Donna Bears, for breaking their divorce agreement. Michael claims Donna purposely interfered with his custody of their daughter.
All rise. Now, this is case number 538 on the calendar in the matter of Bierce versus Bierce.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Bierce, the defendant is your former wife. You have one child?
I have 2 children, ma'am.
How old are they?
My son is 24. My daughter is now 17.
You were divorced, and when you were divorced, according to your complaint, you were awarded custody of your daughter, who was then either 15 or 16. You and your wife were living in Florida at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
But subsequent to the divorce, you and your daughter moved to Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
And it is your claim that during a summer visit, that following summer, your daughter went to visit with her mother, and her mother failed to return her from the visit. She went to court seeking a change in the custody decree, forcing you to incur expenses, going down to Florida, fighting the custody award, and getting a lawyer. You want her to pay those expenses.
Yes, Judge.
And your former wife says that your daughter wanted to stay. She preferred to stay in Florida. You really should have been more understanding. Ultimately, your daughter did return to your custody. Is that right?
Yes, Judge.
In what year were you divorced?
April, it was 2005.
And how old was your daughter at the time?
15.
Was there a consent that your daughter remain in your custody?
Basically, my ex-wife wanted the divorce. She said if I give her the house, if I give her all the furniture, half the bank account, the main car, all that stuff, I could have my daughter. And she also knew that if she went through with a divorce, that I told her I was going back to Pittsburgh because I had nothing left in Florida.
Were you raised in Pittsburgh?
Yes, ma'am. That's where my family's at, and I wanted to provide that type of family environment for my daughter when I had custody of her.
How long had you been living in Florida?
I got stationed there in 2000, and I retired.
So it was a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, I retired out of the Navy out of Jacksonville, Florida.
Where's your son?
Right now, he's living with me, Judge. He was in the Navy for 5 years.
Okay, so he's living with you now.
Mm-hmm.
Did you discuss the custody arrangement with your daughter, who was 15 at the time?
Yes.
And she was prepared to move with you to
Yes,
Pennsylvania?
absolutely.
So far, is that correct?
Some of it, yes, ma'am.
What is not?
Well, I believe my ex-husband stating that about the house issue and all. It wasn't about that. I did not want my daughter to continue to go through a battle with her father, that he said he would continue to battle with me until he did take her from me.
Well, she's 15 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
15-year-olds usually know what they want to do, and in court, judge usually listens to what they want to do.
Yes, ma'am.
It's more unusual, quite frankly, Ms. Bice, since you and your husband, your ex-husband, made a home in Florida. You had been living there for several years. Daughter was in high school in Florida. It would have been difficult for him had there been a contested custody case to be successful unless you had agreed. That's clear. You were represented by counsel, weren't you?
Yes, Your Honor, but what it was my daughter was devastated that her parents were going through a divorce. My ex-husband continued to tell me that he would continue to fight to take my daughter from me. Instead of my daughter...
It's not taking your daughter from you. She's not your possession, Miss Bice. She's a 15-year-old, almost
Yes,
grown,
but her father is a
up.
very manipulative, vindictive man, and he was going to do whatever it took to take her from me. He was trying to get me as an unfit mother, and I'm not an unfit mother.
Well, I don't know that. All I know is that you have 2 children. They're both now
Yes,
living with their
ma'am.
father. So, you kept the house?
Yes, ma'am.
How long had you lived in the house?
We lived in the house since July of 2000.
What kind of work were you doing while you were in Florida?
I work at the Home Depot.
And you?
I was retired Navy, and I did not have a job. I was going back to Pittsburgh to start a second career.
So you get a pension from the Navy?
I get half a pension now.
And you had a bank account?
Yes, we had a shared checking account.
Okay, and you got half of that?
Yes, ma'am.
And you got all the furnishings in the house?
No, ma'am. We divided the furniture.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he take?
He took his living room furniture. He took his bedroom set. He took all my daughter's belongings of her 2 rooms of furniture.
Is that right?
That is not true, ma'am.
Did you take any furniture from the house?
I did not take any of the house furniture, absolutely not.
What did you take?
I took my clothes and my guitars and amplifiers, all my stuff.
Sort of believe that. All right, and you say the quid pro quo for that was that there would be an uncontested situation with your daughter coming to live with you. Now, tell me what happened when she went to visit her mother. When did she go to visit her mother?
She first went to visit her mother in April of 2006 during spring break. She came back. Everything seemed okay. Then she went back for the summer, and she was supposed to come back for the 4th of July weekend because we were going to have a celebration.
When did she leave for this summer break?
Somewhere at the beginning of June, right after school let out.
Okay. And what happened?
She never came back. As a matter of fact, I got a phone call from my daughter stating, I'm not coming back, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I'd like to interrupt that, Your Honor.
Just a second, I'll come back to you. So, what'd you do?
Well, first of all, I was probably mad and said some bad things because this just shocked me. And
did you ultimately retain an attorney in Florida?
Yes, my ex-wife gave me a summons. The sheriff came to my house, and then I was forced to eventually go to hire an attorney.
Now, you were divorced in April of 2005.
Yes.
When did you leave for Pennsylvania?
April 30th, 2005.
When did your daughter come to Pittsburgh?
June of 2005.
So from September 2005 until the end of that year, she went to school in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
So my question is, if your daughter wanted to stay in Florida with you, Ms. Bice, why didn't you petition the court in Pennsylvania, where your daughter had spent her last year, where now all of her school records were, for a change in custody?
Your Honor, at the time when my ex-husband received my daughter, my ex-husband had turned my children against me. My children did not speak to me until the following year. My daughter come to realize every time she discussed about coming to see her mother in Florida, he would change the subject. He would not allow my daughter.
Listen to me.
But my children were very...
You don't tell a 15-year-old what to do, and you certainly don't tell a 24-year-old what to do, Ms. Bice.
I understand that, Your Honor, but my daughter was telling me, Mom, I understand what my dad's doing. He is trying to keep me from you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your Honor, you know how it feels at broad daylight outside when 3 sheriffs came to my house and he told them that I kidnapped my daughter? You gotta be kidding me.
I'm not kidding you, madam.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Bears claims ex-wife Donna Bears interfered with his custody of their daughter. He is suing for the money he spent on legal fees.
Mr. Bice, ultimately your daughter came back to live with you.
Yes.
Is that right? And she's with you now?
Yes.
How's your daughter doing?
She's doing very well, Your Honor.
Good.
She does well in school. She's on Silk Line team. She's a well-adjusted teenager.
Good. And what are you doing, Miss Bice, in Florida? Are you still working?
Yes, ma'am.
Where?
I work at the Home Depot as a front-end supervisor.
Do you pay child support?
No, ma'am, I do not.
How come?
When the judge signed it, my ex-husband was making extremely a lot more money than me, and the judge signed it. I did not have to pay child support.
Well, that's not usually a reason not to pay child support.
Yes, I understand that. I do send my child, on occasion, money to her, directly to her.
It's interesting that you waive child support, sir. How much did it cost you for your plane fare down to the state of Florida?
The plane fare was $487.28.
Your Honor, can I say something, please?
Yeah.
On July 1st, when I did take my daughter back to the airport, I left her because we are not able to go through security. At the time I left the airport, my daughter had called me and told me that she did not go on a plane. She did not want to go back to her father. My ex-husband did not have to purchase another plane ticket for his daughter to go back to Pennsylvania.
I'm not talking about his daughter's plane ticket. Didn't you go down to the state of Florida?
Yes, ma'am. I had an
I'm talking about
emergency
his
pickup
plane
order.
ticket to come down to Florida to litigate this matter. That's the plane ticket I'm talking about, Ms.
Yes, ma'am.
Not your daughter's plane ticket. His.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you want me to believe, Ms. Bice, that you took your daughter to the airport and you had no idea that she was going to not get on the plane?
Yes, ma'am. I have her boarding pass showing that I did take my child to the airport.
Well, I believe that you took her to the airport, but what I'm saying to you is you want me to believe that when you took her to the airport, you had not had any discussions with her about not getting on the plane.
We discussed about She was going back to her father until the issue that I had reopened on June 19th was resolved.
Which was?
Okay, when I received my daughter on June 8th, which I should have had her for the whole summer, but he demanded that she came back.
Get to the point.
Okay. On June 18th, when my daughter made a phone call to my ex-husband, she stated to her father that she did not want to go back to him, that she loved her father, and that she was happier here in Florida with her mother. I start discussing with her. I said, Mom will go the legal route, and I will reopen this case so I can try to fight to get her back to me. On June 19th, I went to Clay County. I reopened my case with Clay County, and that's when he was served with these papers that the case was open.
Yes.
On July 25th, when I was at home and my daughter was going out of the house, is when 3 sheriffs came to my premises with a pickup order to remove my daughter from me. Her father knew where she was, and both my daughter and her father were having conversations via email, which I would like you to see.
I'd like to see them.
I did highlight parts of these emails that I think are very important that you need to read.
I will. When you filed for custody, by the way, did you also file for child support?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
How come?
Because I'm not financially able to take care of my daughter on my own.
Why not?
Because I have a mortgage, I have all my bills that I have to pay.
Get 2 jobs. Why should he have to support your child without you contributing a dollar?
Well, I do work long hours.
I don't care whether you work long hours, and I have 2 children. Neither one of them live with you.
Well, my son is grown. He's 24 years old.
I understand that. You have 2 children. Neither one of them live with you. You have a daughter who was a minor, who lived with her father for a year.
Yes,
you
ma'am.
had a responsibility to pay child support. The fact that your former husband let you off the hook, something that I quite frankly don't understand, and the fact that the court let you off the hook, where jurisdictions in this country are unanimous in their conviction that both parents, irrespective of their means, are required to support a child, especially when you are the non-custodial parent. So not only did you file for custody of your daughter, but you also filed for support, despite the fact that you hadn't been paying a nickel for support.
Yes, ma'am.
It's interesting.
Yeah, that's all.
Did your daughter ever discuss with you, Mrs. Bice, the part of the petition that you filed in Florida and dropping any request for support?
No, ma'am.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that your daughter didn't at some point say to you, Dad says it's all about money, it's all about the child support that you want. Would you tell Dad that you don't want any support, just let me live here with you? I don't believe that this girl who wrote these emails didn't say that to you, Ms. Bice.
At some point or another, Your Honor, when Cynthia would talk to me,
Just get to the point. Did your daughter ever discuss with you, Dad says that this is all about the money?
I love my daughter, Your Honor.
Just answer my question. Did she ever say to you, would you drop all the requests for more money and just let me live with you? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes, Your Honor, in the past.
She did.
Yes, she has.
Of course she did. And did you say, yes, I'll drop all the requests for money?
Right now, I am. Right now, my ex-husband has drawn up documentation, Your Honor, for me to have...
Not right now. When, in June and July of 2006, did you say to your daughter, fine, I will go in and amend my case to drop the request for money and just tell your father, you want to live here and I'll take care of you?
Your Honor, my ex-husband would still not give the child up.
That's not what I asked you. There is no question in my mind after reading these emails that your teenage daughter liked her life in Florida. She liked her friends. She was there for the summer. It's pleasant. The weather is good, whatever it was. And she said, you know what? I think I'm going to stay with my mom, because that's what happens with teenagers. And the fact that you feel as if you've been duped, which is the way you feel. You gave up your house. You gave up your furniture. You gave up without any contest half your savings, which you would have had to have given up anyway. And the quid pro quo, according to you, was that your daughter came to live with you in Pennsylvania, away from where she had lived really for all the time she was a teenager. And then when she had an opportunity to go back, she said to her mother, you know, I like it here. I think I'd like to stay. I love my father. He's treated me very well. I like his family. She says all that to you. But I'm a teenager. I'm 16 years old. I'm happy. I can drive here in Florida when I'm 16. I can do lots more things here. So I think I'm going to stay. And her mother took the ball and ran with it. That's not a lawsuit, Mr.
Ma'am,
Weiss.
Your Honor, can I say that on the emergency pickup order, she had no basis, no legal right to hold my daughter down in Florida without getting her back on the
We're not
aircraft.
talking about a 3-year-old, Mr. Weiss. We're talking about a 16-year-old.
Your Honor, you know how with the day
I'd
on
have to take
July
off of work 2
25th,
days.
on July 25th, when my daughter and I were leaving the premises, my neighbor across the street was on her cell phone with my ex-husband. They were communicating back and forth to each other, and the police came to my house. 3 sheriffs pulled up in my driveway, Your Honor. Do you know how it feels? I started crying. My daughter started crying. She says, Mom, please don't let these police take me from me. She was crying.
So why didn't you fight the custody order?
Your Honor, they came with this pickup
Well, listen
order
to
and
me.
they took her from me and her father.
I see a settlement order here, madam, that you signed off on.
But at the time, Your Honor, when they came to the premises of the house, they took her from me. The case had just been reopened, Your Honor. It didn't even make it to the court.
Miss Weiss, you settled the matter.
Yes,
with
ma'am,
Fergus.
after that.
That's right. Well, that's
But,
what
Your
I'm
Honor, you
saying
know how
to
it
you.
feels at broad daylight outside when 3 sheriffs came to my house and he told them that I kidnapped my daughter? You gotta be kidding me.
I'm not kidding you, madam.
No one knows how it feels.
I'm
when
not
someone...
kidding you. I'm not kidding you. You did the wrong thing.
Yes, Your Honor, but when my child is there, Mom, please don't let them take me.
Miss Weiss, you did the wrong thing. There is nothing that's indicated in these emails that you gave me to suggest that your former husband was anything but a good, loving, supportive parent to this child, and even supported her visits with you by sending her down. No, sent her down in April.
That's all, Your Honor. When he received...
No. He sent her down in April, and he sent her back down in June.
That's all, Your Honor, but he had the child the year before.
Miss Weiss, listen to me carefully. Mother of the Year, you're not.
No one said I was.
No, Mother of the Year, you're not. It's a lawsuit that's over, that you settled. Do you understand? If your child was 3 years old and you sent her down on a visit and her mother, under those circumstances, retained her and didn't return her to you, you might have a cause. But when you're dealing with a 16-year-old who clearly communicated with you by email that she loves you, but she'd like to stay in Florida, she doesn't even say, I want to stay with my mother. Her mother really had nothing to do with it. She wanted to stay in Florida with her friends.
It's exactly what it is. It's her friends. It's the party time.
Mr. Weiss, I raised 5 children. I got it. You people are fungible. You don't understand. Once you reach 16 years old, it's whichever parent is going to give them a little more latitude. She wanted to be in Florida with her friends. Her mother was irrelevant. This is not a lawsuit, Mr. Weiss. Get over it. But no, you can't. You got to get over it. You have your daughter with you, which is what you want. You have your son staying with you temporarily, if that's what you want.
Granddaughter, too.
If that's what you want, terrific. I sort of feel as if once they leave the house, they don't come back. It's not a revolving door where they come back, but you want to make yourself open to that? You're a better person than I am, sir. They're yours.
What about the airline tickets and the rental car? I had to come down to get her, which she should have made sure she got her on that plane.
You can't make sure of anything with a 16-year-old, Mr. Weiss. Say goodbye. Say goodbye. It's over. That's it.
Yes, ma'am.
Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I've given her everything she's wanted in this divorce. She wanted a house. She wanted the furniture. She sued me a couple other times.
He harasses me continuously for 2 years straight. I'm glad it's done.
She held my furniture hostage. She held my daughter's furniture hostage.
Emails, phone calls, it just continues. It's an ongoing thing.
She sent our daughter back to me when she was down there that summer, and then we could have talked. Maybe we could have worked something out.
That was a very devastating moment. You have 3 sheriffs come in and block you in and come up to you and say, we are here to pick up Cynthia.
If my ex-wife would have got wind that I was coming down to get her, she'd have took off and hit her or something. I know how she works.
My daughter's crying, I'm crying. She said, I do not want to go back to my father. I want to stay here with you, my mom.
I want my daughter to be happy, but with her, everything is money, 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 money. She's been bleeding me since day one.
He does not like me as a person, and he's doing everything he possibly can to hurt me.
Absolutely not. I have no intentions of making her life miserable.
I want my daughter happy.
Nice guys finish last. It's terrible to say that, but it is true. I was a nice guy for this whole thing. And I'm telling you what, she took me to the cleaners.
Christine Paget is suing her ex-boyfriend, Owen Plaster, for the return of money paid toward his rent and bills. Owen says Christine is not entitled to the money in question.
All rise. Now it's case number 77 on the calendar in the matter of Paget versus Plaster.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Padgett, how long were you and Mr. Plaster involved in a relationship?
About 8 years.
And for what period of those 8 years did you live together?
We lived together most of them, but because of our work, we traveled a lot. So a lot of times I was in New York, but we shared the house in Phoenix.
Okay. When was the house in Phoenix purchased?
1997.
And you were living together at the time?
Yes.
Did you move into the house together?
Yes.
House was in your name?
Yes.
And both of you were working?
Yes.
So finances were not an issue when you lived together?
No.
All right. This is your case, Ms. Padgett. After this on-again, off-again relationship, it was on for 8 years and then it was off for a while. And then the two of you, according to what I read, tried to rekindle the relationship and you had sold the house.
Yes.
And Mr. Plaster took an apartment. According to you, you didn't want to be bothered with paying half of the rent monthly, so that you prepaid the entire year or 14 months lease to Mr. Plaster so that you didn't have to be bothered.
Exactly.
And shortly after you gave him this check, Mr. Plaster advised you that he had somebody else and he wanted you out.
Yes.
So you want that money back.
Correct.
Mr. Plaster says that that money was not for half the rent. Mr. Plaster says that the two of you had an agreement during the time that you moved into this house together, that he contributed to the house, including the mortgage payment while he was living there, something that you agree with, and that you had an agreement that when the house was sold, you would split whatever increased equity there was during the time that you were living together, since he was, in fact, reducing the mortgage with his mortgage payment and paying half the bills on the house, so that what you were really doing when you gave him this check was keeping your promise to give him some of the equity in the house. That's your defense.
Yes.
And you have a counterclaim because you say that when she did move out, she did some vandalizing in the house and took some property that was actually yours. You want that property back and you want some compensation for the vandalism. In 1997, Ms. Padgett, when you purchased the house, what did you purchase the house for? You remember the purchase?
$108,000.
And what did you sell it for?
I sold it for $236,000.
When did you sell it?
October 2005.
And when did you give Mr. Plaster this check for the rent?
Well, actually, it was bank transfers from my bank account into his bank account. When we decided to rent this apartment, and
just tell me, what date did you give him the check?
I deposited money on 10/11
05
for $6,000, and then on 10/24 for another $1,000.
Also in October of 2005. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, I assume that when you lived together for these 8 years, you had some sort of a discussion about what was going to happen with the equity in the house.
Absolutely.
And what was the discussion?
Exactly right, as you said. However, the important part of that story that was left out was that he moved out of the house in January 2005. Had he stayed with me till October 2005, I probably would have honored that agreement. But at the time when he moved out to move in with a friend of his, I asked him, because he was already living in another bedroom, and I had asked him to please stay on as a roommate, help me sell the house. I didn't have a job at the time. You know, you're putting me in dire straits if you move out. Stay with me. Let's get the house sold. Your daughter's getting married. We can take care of this. I said, if you leave, you're not getting nothing, because you're leaving me in dire straits, and I have to maintain the residence for 10 months until I sold it by myself with no job. I had to get roommates to help me, you know, organize.
Well, I understand your problem, Ms. Padgett. However, you cannot unilaterally change a contract, which is what you told me you had. You had a contract with Mr. Plaster that seems perfectly reasonable to me, that since the two of you had a financial arrangement where each of you was contributing to this household and reducing the mortgage, you were living together as a family, it is perfectly reasonable to have had the contract that you acknowledged that you had, that when and if the house was sold, you would give him, because he had been paying into the house, a portion of the profit from the house.
Yes.
Perfectly reasonable.
Yes.
Now, the fact that he decided to move out and you said to him, if you move out, I'm not going to honor that contract, doesn't mean that that happens. Unless he says, well, fine, I'm moving out anyway, and I agree that you don't have to honor the contract. But that's not what happened.
That is what happened.
No. No, that's not what you told me.
No, that
you
is
told
what
me.
happened.
Now, listen to me. What you told me was, you said to him, if you move out,
right,
I'm not going to honor our agreement.
And he agreed.
No,
and
you said he moved out anyway.
Right.
Well, that's not agreeing with you, madam. He just left. That's not saying I agree that you don't have to honor the contract. He just says, I'm leaving anyway. So while he does not have a counterclaim for that, I am finding that the money that you gave him was for the contract that you had with him for the 8 years that you lived together in this house that you sold, and that you sold for a substantial profit. You more than doubled your money. He paid down the mortgage, and he should be entitled to a portion of that. So, has he sued you on the contract that you had to give him half the profits of the house?
No.
Well, he should.
Because it was agreed that we didn't.
No. Listen to me. I don't believe that at all. And I'm telling you that if he doesn't sue you for half the profits on the house, consider yourself really lucky that I'm speaking. Consider yourself, Miss Paget, really lucky. Because if he sued you in a court where I was sitting, that had a much higher jurisdiction than the $5,000 I have, I would find that you had a contract with him that he fulfilled by contributing to the house for the 8 years that you lived together, and that you cannot unilaterally breach that contract because you didn't want him to leave and leave you in the lurch for 10 months. I might do something equitable, like cutting 10 months' worth of the mortgage payments out and carving that out of his share of the profits. But I'm telling you right now, for the $6,000 that you gave him, you got away with a bargain. I wouldn't complain. Now I'm going to hear your counterclaim. Go ahead.
This is a case of a woman scorn.
Listen, don't tell me what it's about, sir. Don't tell me what a case is about, sir. I'm asking you whether you have a legitimate counterclaim that you want me to hear, or whether you just want to forget it.
Well, once I let her know that I was seeing someone else, she came to get her things, and I gave her a few days in the apartment to get her stuff out. And when I returned, I've got photographs of the vandalism.
I'd like to see the photographs, Bert, please.
And I've got lots of notes that were left and taped on the walls, just crazy things all over the place. Doors were written on, mirrors were written on, photographs stapled to the walls, photographs torn up, my guitars and other property just thrown everywhere. All of my things that were in boxes were dumped in bathtubs and in closet floors, along with half-eaten hamburgers and just
She was
trash.
very angry.
She was very angry.
How much did it cost you to clean it up?
It was very difficult to clean it up.
My question was, I saw the picture, sir. How much did it cost you to clean up the apartment?
Nothing. Just my own time.
So it took your time. Show these photographs to the plaintiff, please. Mr. Plaster, just for my own information, sir, why did you allow Miss Paget to move her things into the apartment if you were seeing someone else?
I started seeing someone else after her things were in the apartment.
Not before?
Correct. We moved into the apartment, but she moved to New Jersey, so she only stayed a few days in the apartment at all.
Well, she was sort of hoping that things would work out between you, I assume, which is why she moved her things into the apartment. She didn't move into the apartment for storage purposes. Why'd you trash the apartment?
Because he just didn't face me. And I just would like to say something about the mortgage. He did not contribute to the mortgage every month.
Miss Paget,
He didn't.
Paget, I got the information from the two of you before I started to hear your case. And that was that the two of you lived together peacefully for 8 years. You seem like an intelligent woman. You both worked. According to the both of you, each of you contributed to the running of the household, and that money was never an issue. And being an intelligent woman, myself, I have to assume that if he wasn't paying his fair share of the house, you wouldn't have kept him around for 8 years. What I'm telling you is the law says just because you say the agreement is over doesn't make it over.
But he moved out.
I don't care whether he moved out. Miss Paget, I'm going to try one more time, and then I'm not going to hear any more from you. Let us say he wasn't ready to move out of the house, but you were ready to sell it. Do you think you could have sold the house without his permission?
Absolutely.
Of course, because the house is in your name.
Correct.
He's not a slave. He can move if he wants to. That doesn't mean that when you sell the house, he's not entitled to, up until the time he moved out, a portion of the increase in the value of the house, because that was your agreement. Now, you have no right to do what you did here, and he has to be compensated for that, even his time.
I paid for the security deposit on the apartment and all the first month's rent.
No, just a second. In addition to the $6,000 that you gave him, you wrote a check right out to the landlord?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
How much?
Well, the monthly rent was $1,100 and something a month.
So it was at least $1,100.
So it was at least $1,100
okay,
plus
now
security
is that,
deposit was...
Is that in addition to The $6,000?
Yes.
Well, then, sir, you can use that $1,100, but you're going to get back to clean up the apartment. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much. It's over. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He wouldn't face me,
She had moved to New York.
just talk to me in person.
You know, I was in a new relationship,
He did it via email.
and I let her know.
It was very sad. I felt like I was put out with the trash.
And it is sad, and I wish it could have worked out some other way.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Candler versus Velasco. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Jamie Candler is suing her best friend's ex-boyfriend, Jose Velasco, for cell phone bills and a disconnection fee.
Miss Chandler, Mr. Velasco was the boyfriend of your girlfriend.
Yes.
They are no longer in love.
No.
Are you the girlfriend? And who is this?
That's the ex. That's the girlfriend.
I could have told you that. But while they were a couple, you decided to be a good sport and get Mr. Velasco a cell phone because he couldn't get one on his own, with the understanding that he was going to take care of the bill. So far, is that about right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
And then there was a fight between Mr. Velasco and his girlfriend.
Correct.
Yes.
That would be you. And it is your claim that he stopped paying the bill and ran up a bill, hundreds of dollars, and you want him to pay it.
Correct.
Mr. Velasco says he paid the bill when he had the phone. You shut off the phone for no valid reason other than the fact that
When we broke up.
they weren't together anymore.
Correct.
Right? And he's not paying for a phone that he had no use of. When was the phone turned on?
It was turned on in February of 05.
And when was it turned off?
January of 06.
That's when she turned it off, Your Honor, because I stopped using it about September, October. That's when I got my new girlfriend. And when they found out...
September of 05.
Yeah.
You stopped using the phone.
Well, that's when she turned it off because they found out that I had a new girlfriend.
Well, what I'm asking you is, when was the phone no longer in use?
I'm not sure when he stopped using it, but he asked me to suspend the account so no more further charges could be added to it, and that was done on January 11th. And on January 29th, they suspended the account completely because there was no payments on the account, and it ran up over $1,000.
Let me see the bill, and let me see the phone calls that were made and when. Did you have the phone, sir, in January?
I had the phone, but the service was restricted.
I have calls on this phone from January 11th until February 6th. Who made those calls?
No, I didn't, Your Honor. As far as I know, they probably reported stolen. They got a phone.
Whose number is 900? Is an incoming call. Whose number is that?
His new girlfriend.
Is that your number?
That's my work number.
That's your work number?
Yes.
Then you had the phone, sir. Why would she be calling a friend of theirs? That would be pretty stupid, Mr. Velasco. Okay. We have incoming calls from your work. We have incoming. You wouldn't call somebody just to harass them, would you?
No.
No, of course not. 4,900, 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't ask you to sit up.
Oh, sorry.
Whose number is 9053 in San Bernardino?
I have no idea.
Who lives in Ontario?
I don't know. Nobody in Ontario.
Well, maybe she does. Do you know whose number is 9026?
That's her home number.
Her home number?
Yes.
Maybe she called her. I don't know.
No, it says number called.
Why would I want to call her?
He called to speak to my daughter.
That's not true.
You have your own cellular phone?
Yes.
Is it all off now? Shut down?
Yes.
There shouldn't be any calls on this between January and February.
When I called and spoke to the person on Singular, they told me that they canceled the phone due to no payments being made on the account. They said it was canceled on January 29th.
Well, there were calls here up through, well, this is a February bill, January 11th. You have another phone now, sir?
Yes, I do.
Good. When did you get it? Look at me. When did you get it?
When did I get it? I don't know.
When did you get it? That's a question. I ask the questions, you give me the answer. When did you get the phone?
In January. Then
January, that's what I
February.
thought. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,032. Get out.
Parties are excused and they step out.
I don't get to see them anymore, so I'm fine with that.
I did him that favor, and he tried to in the end, and I'm just happy that I got my money out of it. They're not getting any money off of him anymore. They're just trying to find out another way on how to get it.
They're just trying to get money out of me because she doesn't know who her baby's dad is.
I was dating him and my friend at the same time.
I'm not her baby's daddy.
Very frustrating because I was doing him a favor.
It's just wrong how he treated her. He said he was going to pay her back and he didn't.
I won't see him ever again.
Never get a cell phone for anybody else with my name again.
Karen Goppert is suing her former friend, Chris Fitzgerald, for the cost of outstanding traffic tickets she paid on his behalf.
Yeah, it's case number 237 on the calendar in the matter of Goppert versus Fitzgerald. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Mrs. Goppert, you and your husband own a trucking company.
That's
and
correct.
You became acquainted with the defendant, I gather, through his wife, girlfriend? Girlfriend. At some point, and for a reason that you will tell me, it is your claim that you paid some fines that he had outstanding in the criminal justice system. Your arrangement, according to you, was that the fines would enable him to get a certain kind of a license that would allow him to drive the truck, and he would be working for you and your husband's company, and he would pay you so much per week or month, whenever he's paid, out of his pay.
That's correct.
The two couples, you and your husband and the defendant and his girlfriend, went on a trip together. There was an argument. You stopped speaking to each other after you paid these fines. Mr. Fitzgerald says that it was very nice of you to pay the fines. He didn't ask you to pay the fines. He had no intention of going to work for your husband. He had no intention of taking up trucking. He had a good job that he liked. And you, out of the goodness of your heart, paid his criminal fines. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Fitzgerald, what were these fines for, and how old were they, sir?
Dating back to probably 1999 to 2000 to 2001.
What were they for?
Various charges, logbook violations.
What is that?
I had a CDL license that was suspended.
What is a CDL?
Commercial driver's license, 18-wheeler.
Yes.
At one point in time, I was paying big money to child support, trying to make ends meet, and ended up getting some fines, pulled over.
For what?
They're just different things.
Come on.
Logbook violations.
Tell me what's a logbook violation.
It's a book that a commercial driver's license has to keep about the hours of work, the hours of driving the truck.
So you first found guilty of violating the code to keep that book, which you keep in order to maintain an honest record of the driving hours you put in.
Well, ma'am, I was not found guilty of that.
You mean you were found not guilty of that and they imposed a fine anyway?
Yes.
On top of several other tickets.
That's an interesting criminal justice system. You were found not guilty and got a fine anyway?
Yes, ma'am, of different charges. The charges were reduced.
So you pled down to a lesser charge?
Yes, ma'am.
I got it now. So you accumulated all of these fines. Did you still have a driver's license, sir?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Mr. Fitzgerald, you're supposed to pay fines. I'm sure you were told that as a condition of the plea and the reduction in the fines, so that, I don't know whether there was potential jail time involved, you were supposed to pay the fines.
Yes, ma'am.
So why don't you? That's your responsibility.
Well, at that time, Your Honor,
Let's not talk about at that time when you had big child support, you had other things that you had to take care of. We're talking about 6 years later, sir.
Yes, ma'am. The problem was, like I said, back years ago, I used to pay more money in my check for child support than I was actually making. There was times in points where I actually received check stubs stating void, $0. I actually owed the company money.
Well, sir, that's
You can't take blood from a stone, Your Honor.
Mr. Fitzgerald, how many children do you have, sir?
3 children.
The only reason that they were taking out more money, sir, than you actually made was because there was a time when you got behind in your child support.
Yes, ma'am.
They don't keep me here because I'm gorgeous. You could have disagreed with me, Mr. Fitzgerald. It would have gone far. So the reason, right, yeah, what a missed opportunity. So for that reason, sir, you didn't do the right thing with regard to your 3 children, and the state said, okay, what's your first name?
Chris.
Chris. Okay, Chris, we're going to really give it to you. We're going to take all your money. So whatever you work for, we're going to take because you didn't do the right thing to begin with. What I don't understand, Mr. Fitzgerald, is that after you owed this money, now we're talking about years later, and I assume that now, based upon your answer, you were making good money. So if you were making good money, why didn't you pay your debt to society?
I can't answer that, Your Honor. Just
Good. It's a good thing you can't answer it. You don't know. There's no good reason.
Doesn't pay any of his debts.
Shh. Miss Scupper, does it sound as if you're losing yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Now, you want to tell me how come it came about that you pay these fines for him?
Absolutely.
First of all, there had to come a time in your relationship with Mr. Fitzgerald, which was a brief relationship because you only met him through his girlfriend, who was a friend of yours, that you found out that he had all these old fines, right?
Right.
You didn't, go like this to your crystal ball and they say, oh, Chris Fitzgerald has fines, I'm going to pay them. Somebody must have told you.
Do you have any you'd like me to pay?
Right.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? So would you please tell me, Miss Coppard, how you found out that Mr. Fitzgerald had these fines that precluded him from having a driver's license?
Okay. In speaking with his girlfriend, Terry, over coffee in a convenience store one morning, it was brought to my attention that he did want to drive truck again, but
Is that
he
what
had
she
no
said?
license.
That's what she said.
She asked to drive.
Hey. What's your name?
Terry.
How long have you been a friend of Terry's?
Maybe just a little short of a year.
Okay. So you and Terry having coffee, she says that a boyfriend was interested in driving a truck.
He had a CDLA, yes, and that we had the trucking company, and he'd like to get back into the trucking company because he made good money. How convenient. I happen to have a trucking company.
Great.
So we talked about it over several weeks. I said, well, he needs to fill out an application. Let's see what we can do with it. After the application process, I find out he doesn't have a license. And he had 14 tickets within 4 municipalities. They produced a copy of his expansion record from New York State Department of Motor Vehicle to me.
Who produced it?
Terry brought it into work. I looked it over and I said, wow, what is this mess? She proceeded to tell me that at one point, Chris had retained an attorney. The attorney did get some of the charges dismissed. We went from 14 down to 7. 7 of them were dismissed.
Your Honor, why would my attorney...
Was that a question you were posing to me?
Yes, I'm trying to...
Oh, just a second. I don't answer questions. I ask them.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I agreed to drive her truck.
Oh,
that's all
now
it was.
there you...
Now, listen...
Now
Your
you
Honor,
got just a second. Hey, Slick, I read your answer. You want to read it again?
And later today...
Were you there that night, sir?
Yes, I was.
Good. That's all I asked you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karen Goppert claims former friend Chris Fitzgerald racked up multiple tickets as a truck driver. She paid the outstanding fines on his behalf and claims Chris never paid her back.
Okay, so far, I haven't heard a conversation with Mr. Fitzgerald. I've heard a conversation only with Terry.
Chris also, over the course of the winter, wasn't working and needed money. And my husband and I also have 11 rental properties. And Chris is somewhat of a handyman, if that's what you want to call it. He put a steel roof on one of our rental properties.
He worked for you over the summer. Go ahead.
Yeah, and he was paid in full.
Go ahead.
And of course, during the course of him working on our rental properties, there was discussion about getting these tickets resolved. It was agreed that I would pay the fines for him so that he could get his CDLA. He would drive truck for us. Then the bottom line number, said and done, after we got to that point where everything was paid and he started driving truck for us, I would take whatever Chris and I agreed to per week out of his pay to repay the debt.
You had that conversation with Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes, I did.
Okay, now, how much did you pay to get his record cleared?
$635.
Okay, go ahead.
After we got all the fines paid, it was time for him to go to the New York State DMV and get his permit so that he could take the 6-hour course. I had given Terry at the store over coffee one morning $100 in cash. In fact, it was a $100 bill, and she remarked how she never had one of those. And I gave her the $100 bill so that Chris could obtain the permit and pay for the 6-hour course.
Go ahead.
So there's another $100.
Well, not necessarily, but go ahead.
Okay. He took all the receipts to DMV to get his permit and could not get it because he had no birth certificate. He has no social security card. He has no identity. So he calls me up all in a tizzy. These people, blah, blah, blah. He's irate. Bring me what you got. Let's see what you got. He comes over to my house. Come to find out he was born in Canada. He has dual citizenship. So I paid another $35 on my credit card, and here's a copy of the application, to try to get him a birth certificate from Canada.
Go ahead.
That's it. Not, my time, my postage, Endless hours, letters, communication, correspondence,
Okay,
telephone
Mr.
calls.
Fitzgerald, let me hear your version of the event, sir.
Ma'am, it started about the time she stated. Karen had paid $635, but she wanted me to drive her truck. I gave up driving truck in the year 2000. I gave up driving for 30 cents a mile. She was putting me in a truck for 30 cents a mile. Here we are 6 years later. Inflation's gone up, ma'am.
Mr. Fitzgerald, you told me in your answer, sir, you didn't want to drive a truck. Then could you explain to me why you went down to try to get a license?
Because I need a license for many reasons. I need one for an identification card. I need one to drive to and from work.
Well, if you didn't go down to get it in order to drive trucks for her, what did you go to her house for when you were having difficulty and have her put on her credit card an additional $35, sir? If you, listen to me, if your intention, or at least your articulated intention, was not to become part of her business, if you couldn't get a driver's license, sir, why didn't you go to your girlfriend to get the $35? Why would you go to a stranger, Mr. Fitzgerald? That doesn't make sense to me, sir.
Exactly, ma'am. Exactly, ma'am. I never asked Mrs. Gopper.
No. You did go to her house.
After the fact. After the fact.
No. Listen to me very carefully. Watch my mouth. You did go to her house.
After the fact.
After what fact?
The fact that she'd already spent the $35 for the application fee, ma'am.
No. We're not talking about the application fee, sir. We're talking about the fact that you went to get a license.
Yes, ma'am.
Which you say you needed for identification. Just identification, not because you had any business with her. You just need an identification to sort of get around. You haven't had it for years, but you needed it now. And then you ran into some difficulty because you didn't have a birth certificate. So why wouldn't you go to your girlfriend if you didn't have $35 and say, listen, I need $35. I don't have it. I don't have a credit card. I need it now. Or why not just wait? You've waited for years anyway.
Your Honor, I could have reached into my own pocket and pulled out the $35.
Then
but
what?
Mrs. Gopper has volunteered her money to pay my fines, to pay everything for me to drive her
you're
truck.
not following me, sir.
Your Honor, you're not following me. She wanted me to drive her truck. I agreed to drive her truck.
Oh,
that's all
now
it was.
there you...
Your
you
Honor,
got just a second. Hey, Slick, I read your answer. You want to read it again?
No, ma'am. I know what I said.
What you said was you had no intention of driving a truck. Now you tell me you did
Not
have
at 30
intention.
cents a mile, ma'am. I quit 6 years ago at 30 cents a mile. I'm not going to start.
So
Why go
is-
backwards
Hey,
in life?
Mr.
Life is
Fitzgerald,
going forward.
Listen to me. When my mouth starts to move, you have to stop.
Yes, ma'am.
So is what you're saying to me, sir, that you agreed to drive a truck for her and you agreed to pay her out of your pay, but when push came to shove, she was only prepared to pay you 30 cents a mile and you weren't going to work for the same wages that you worked for 6 years ago?
Correct.
Well, that's too bad. You should have figured that out before you took her money.
Thank you.
What you're saying to me now is different from what you put in your answer. What you're saying to me now is there was an agreement to pay her back, but you did not have an agreed upon amount of money for when you drove with her, or when push came to shove, you said, I'm not driving for you for
Your Honor,
35.
I never asked her.
I'm speaking, sir. That's what you just told me. And if that's what you just told me, you don't understand that you cannot modify the terms of a contract. Your contract with her was a verbal contract. She paid the fines. You were going to go to work for her. If you breached that agreement by not going to work for her, that, sir, does not vitiate your contract. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $635.
Thank you.
But she did lie.
She's a wealthy woman, and she's got more money than I have and ever will have.
I don't just shell out money to people. Wealthy or not wealthy, money don't grow on trees in my backyard.
I agreed to drive her truck, and now I'm not going to.
If he had no intentions of driving a truck, why'd he fill out the application? Why waste my time?
Pinnell is suing her ex-husband's fiancée, Stacy Allman, for making false reports to Child Protective Services and harassment.
Guys, case number 240 on the calendar in the matter of Pinnell versus Allman. Please have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Pinnell, this is your complaint. Your complaint is that the defendant made a false charge against you to Child Protective Services and has been harassing you by interfering with the phone contact that you want to have with your former husband, sort of as a condition of putting your daughter on the phone.
Yes.
Ms. Allman says it is you that is harassing her and your former husband, and that she was at one point concerned about the child's welfare. She did, in fact, call Child Protective Services on one occasion, and she has a counterclaim. First of all, Ms. Bunnell, the defendant is the fiancé of your former husband.
Right.
You and your former husband have one child.
Yes, we do.
That child has cerebral palsy?
She has mild cerebral palsy, yes, Your Honor.
How long were you married?
For 8 years.
And where did you live when you were married?
We lived in Florida.
You were divorced in the state of Florida?
Yes, we were.
Does your former husband have a visitation schedule that was fixed by the judgment of divorce?
No, he doesn't.
Is there a reason he does not?
I have no idea. He didn't ask for visitation for his daughter. He just asked for shared parental responsibility.
So you have shared custody?
I'm guessing, yes, Your Honor. She lives with me.
Yes. Do you have shared custody?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's why I didn't ask for visitation, because he has shared custody. Now, you recently moved from the state of Florida to the state of Kentucky.
Yes, Your Honor.
Who lives in Kentucky?
My mom does.
Did you have court permission to move?
We weren't divorced at the time when we moved. I was told that
You were not divorced?
We were not divorced when I moved to Kentucky.
When did you move?
I moved to Kentucky last year at the end of October of last year. Our divorce wasn't finalized until May of this year.
How long had the matter been pending in court?
For 2 years.
So that the matter was pending when you relocated?
Well, I hadn't been served with...
That's not what I asked you. The matter was pending when you relocated?
Yes.
Did you give your husband any notice that you were moving to the state of Kentucky?
Yes, I did.
That's a lie,
When?
Your Honor.
Shh, don't speak. When did you give him notice?
I tried to call him 2 weeks prior to me moving because there was a hurricane. Hurricane Wilma came through. I was trying to contact him 2 weeks before I knew because I was told by his parents.
Listen! I asked you a simple question.
2 weeks before we moved.
You said you didn't get to him 2 weeks before
No,
you moved.
I couldn't get a hold of him.
So the answer is you did not notify him before you moved.
Right, I did know. Sorry, Your Honor.
Is that the answer? You did not notify him before you moved?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Pinnell, I will tell you right now that if I were the family court judge hearing your relocation case, you would be back in Florida in a heartbeat. You have no right to take a child out of the jurisdiction and away from a parent when there is a pending divorce case without going before a judge and saying, listen, this is what I want to do. I want to relocate hundreds and hundreds of miles away, and I want your permission to do it. Now, I can understand from an emotional perspective, Kentucky is where your mother lives, why it's more comfortable for you to be there, why it may be even more comfortable and better for your daughter to be there. That is a judicial determination. Once you get married and have a child, you don't get to make that decision by yourself.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'm telling you that right now. There was no excuse for that.
Sure.
Now, Miss Allman, let's start with you.
Yes, ma'am.
You called Child Protective Services. Do you remember when?
I actually have the report. It was June 22nd, 2006 at 9:18 a.m.
Can I see the report, please?
Yes, ma'am. I have it highlighted where
Just a
DCI...
minute.
I'm sorry.
I can read. It's the first prerequisite for this job. Ms. Pinnell.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that your child has cerebral palsy. When was she diagnosed with cerebral palsy?
She wasn't diagnosed until she was 6 years old.
Diagnosed when she was 6?
Yes, Your Honor. She is a very...
This report indicates that there was an allegation of medical neglect.
Yes.
Made by you. Yes. And this says, for the allegation of medical neglect, there are no findings to support this maltreatment. Medical records confirm that the child was seen by the doctor on February 3rd, 2005 and August 5th, 2005. There is no medical evidence to support that the child suffers from cerebral palsy and does not need to take medication. Now, can you tell me why you haven't taken a child who suffers from cerebral palsy to a doctor in a year?
Actually, she's been to her pediatrician of this year.
Well, not according to this report, madam. I'm just telling you.
Well, I don't know what doctor she saw because I have a statement here from her current pediatrician, which she was seen on May 19th of this year.
Can I see that, please?
Stating that she was sent to orthopedics because she was complaining because my daughter gets muscle pains.
What's the name of your regular pediatrician?
Doctor. That's the one that's in Kentucky. She sees him every 6 months.
Okay. You called June 22nd, 2006 from Naples, Florida.
Yes, Your Honor.
What was the concern that you had, madam?
Because she was not taking the proper care of the child, because we were under the pretense of her saying that Alyssa has cerebral palsy when we found out that she does not have cerebral palsy, that it was just a...
How did you find out she doesn't have cerebral palsy?
The DCF report.
Okay. Do you have anything there that would support your statement that your daughter suffers from cerebral palsy?
No, I don't, Your Honor, because she has a very mild case of cerebral palsy.
You keep saying that she has a very mild case of cerebral palsy. All I want to see is something from a physician that indicates that she has cerebral palsy.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If that's true, Mr. Pinnell, that's a serious problem that she has. There's a medical term for that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carleen Pinnell claims her ex-husband's fiancée, Stacy Allman, falsely accused her of child neglect. Stacy is countersuing for harassment.
Well, when was the last time she was diagnosed with cerebral palsy?
The last time she was diagnosed was when she was 6 years old. I can't remember the exact dates.
Where?
In Jacksonville, Florida, when my ex-husband was stationed in the Navy. And
you were together?
Yes, and he was present.
Step up.
With me.
Shh. Your last name is?
Pinnell, Your Honor.
Mr. Pinnell, time you were in the service and your daughter was 6 years old, were you present when your daughter was diagnosed with cerebral palsy?
I was off and on, Your Honor, because I was out to sea and I came back.
Were you ever advised by your then wife that the child had cerebral palsy?
She told me mild case of cerebral palsy, but I didn't see any documentation or anything from a doctor saying it was true.
What were the manifestations that she had of having cerebral palsy?
She said that...
No, that you saw.
Oh, that I saw? I didn't see anything. Alyssa would get, her legs would get weak, but that could be just average, just playing.
And what would you do for her if her legs got weak?
If we were walking, we'd stop walking and just relax for a little bit.
You would say she was tired?
Yeah, she was tired.
Okay. When was the last time you saw your daughter?
It was about over 3 years ago.
No, Your Honor. The last time he saw his daughter was a week before Easter in 2005.
Wrong.
Shh. Where?
I'm sorry, 2004, when she was staying at my mom's house.
That is a lie.
You know, your problem, Miss Allman, is that you have taken too much of an active role in something that has nothing to do with you. That's your problem. That's his responsibility. He's the father. You're not. You are, so far, nothing to this child. You're not even a stepmother to this child. You're nothing. And you have no stake. So I don't know whether Miss Pinnell is a nut or not. That's possible. She's his nut, not yours. I understand that she thinks she's being protective of you, and she's going to set the ground rules because now this is her turf, right? You can't let that happen. This is the mother of your child, and if she's a nut, she's your nut.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's possible, because certainly if you have a child who has a very, very, very mild case of cerebral palsy, you make sure that that child is seen on a regular basis. And for the years that you lived in Florida, certainly, you would have had another diagnosis from a doctor in Florida that says the child suffers from mild case of cerebral palsy. And that's non-existent because she doesn't have anything, and the state of Florida says there is absolutely no medical evidence to support that the child suffers from cerebral palsy. So if that's true, Mr. Pinnell, if that's true, that's a serious problem that she has. There's a name for that, a medical term for that. Somebody who requires attention by making believe somebody else is sick as a way of getting attention for themselves, attention, sympathy, or whatever. I don't know if that's the case, but clearly, based upon this report, it's the case. But, Ms. Pinnell, there is absolutely no indication that she didn't have at least some basis to call Child Protective Services. So the first part of your case is dismissed with regard to false allegations to Child Protective Services because Child Protective...
Your Honor, that's not the one that I'm talking about. The ones that I'm talking about is when there was one that was filed in 2005 in September and January 3rd when she had called saying that if Alyssa does not get medication, she could suffer seizures and or die. I mean, in here, she stated that my daughter has to be on medication or she'll die.
Listen to me, madam. You've been telling people for the past at least 6 years that your daughter has cerebral palsy.
Yes.
And I'm not an expert. Certainly, I'm not a person of medicine, and I don't know whether all children who have cerebral palsy take medication.
No,
or
they
should
don't,
take
Your
medication. Well, I don't know that. And you're not a doctor either. So,
But Your
if
Honor,
this has... Go ahead.
I also have an email stating from Miss Alleman that she's sitting there saying I refuse to get the medication she really needs.
So?
I mean, she's even sat there and said that my daughter's supposed to be on medication. My daughter's not supposed to be on medication. My daughter goes to a physical therapist twice a week for her outpatient therapy because she has a hard time writing because of her mild cerebral palsy. She's also in speech because of it.
Well, all I can tell you is this report from Child Protective Services says, I'm going to read it to you one more time.
I understand, Your Honor, but
there is no medical evidence to support that the child suffers from cerebral palsy. Listen, if I had to put a child in all kinds of therapy for cerebral palsy and the state finds that the child does not have that disease, it's something that I would certainly look into. Anyway, your case is dismissed with regard to any calls that she made, even though she shouldn't have made them. That was you. You can't be a wuss, Mr. Pinnell.
Yes, Your Honor.
You can't put that on somebody else. You have to take care of the business of your family yourself. Right now, Miss Allman is not your family. Maybe one day you'll make her your family. Today's not the day.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, as far as the harassment is concerned, let's talk about the harassment.
Okay, Your Honor. She has sent me numerous emails telling me to stop calling, you know, and just threatening to sue for custody, you know, and try to take my daughter away from me. Or
That's not harassment.
Well, she's, I mean, in the emails, they're vulgar.
That's not harassment.
Okay.
To tell you to not call anymore, that she's going to try to take custody away, or they are going to try to take custody of your daughter away, is not harassment.
I also have it on tape.
That's not harassment.
But, Your Honor, it is because, I mean, my daughter, the only time that I call is when my daughter wants to talk to her father.
Then let your daughter pick up the phone and call her father.
She's tried, and the message shows that every time that my daughter, she'll call her father, she refuses to answer the phone.
No,
and my
listen,
daughter leaves a message, Your Honor.
Listen to me. My sense is, Miss Pinnell, that her father would like to speak to her. Her father doesn't want to speak to you.
I understand that. I have no
then
problem
you
letting
have
him
to
talk.
pick. Then you should have picked a time before you moved to Kentucky, without court permission, for her father to speak to her.
Can you please just listen to the message, please?
Sure.
Okay. This is the first one.
You better knock your off, you stupid life. I don't need this in my life. We told you once before, leave us alone. Understand that? Leave us alone. Don't call me, don't do anything to me ever again. But a fat, ugly. Do you understand that? Leave me the phone.
Here's the second one.
Tuesday, 11:22 a.m. Just for this, Paul will never speak to Alyssa ever again. And you will never, ever get a number to contact us ever again.
How many times had you called that day?
I had only called, my daughter had called on Father's Day to leave a message.
No. How many times had you called?
Just
She has
that
the
one
telephone
time.
records.
I have over a year's worth of phone bills to where Carlene has called constantly. I had to change my cell phone number twice.
How
my
many
home
times
number
a
once.
day?
There was one day where she called 50 times. I physically pulled the phone cord out of my wall because we didn't want to put up with it. It's when Paul calls to speak with with his daughter.
No, he's going to tell me that, not you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, I've called I've called a lot of times, and she would answer the phone. I don't want to talk to her. I want to talk to my daughter. There was a while.
So when you call up on the phone and you say, "Is Alyssa there?"
Yeah.
What happens?
She would go into some speech of this, and this, and this. That's not what I wanted.
What do you do?
I wait a little while, and she eventually puts Alyssa on the phone.
Okay. So,
So,
Mr. Pinnell, you know you have a problem. You know what your first problem is? Her.
yeah.
Your first problem is her, Mr. Pinnell. She's interfering in your business. You have to lay the ground rules with your fiancé, and the court has to lay the ground rules with your former wife.
Yes, Your Honor.
Listen to me. If he doesn't want to speak to you, Miss Pinnell,
I have no problem letting him
fine.
talk to his daughter.
Fine. Then let his daughter pick up the phone. You have a cell phone?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And call him, her father, on his cell phone.
The only number that I have is her cell phone. I don't have his cell phone for
Well,
his
maybe he
daughter
doesn't want to
call.
give it to you because he thinks you're going to disturb him.
I have an email from Miss Alleman stating that when Paul wants to talk to his daughter, that she's going to be the one making the phone calls, and that I'm to put his daughter on the phone so he can talk to his daughter.
So what's wrong with that?
I don't want her calling my house. That's the problem. Because any other time that she's called my house, she's been nasty to me.
Okay. What I've told you, Miss Ullman, is in my judgment, you have injected yourself into a circumstance that is none of your business. Mr. Pinnell has to take care of this problem on his own, and he should make it his business to speak to his daughter, who's 11 years old and who would like to speak to her father. And if you can't figure out some way to do that, that's a very sad thing.
It is.
You're
It is.
three people who are articulate, And the only one who's suffering because of your ego, because of your macho, because of your wanting to have a certain place in this family, and because of your lack of backbone, quite frankly, Mr. Pinnell, the only one who's suffering is an 11-year-old child who doesn't understand why she's not speaking to her father. She's hearing all kinds of things from her mother as to the effect that you can call whenever you want. She's not going to separate the two of you. She wants you to have contact. That's a lot of baloney. If she wanted you to have contact, she wouldn't have moved back to Kentucky without telling you.
The reason why I moved back and why I moved to Kentucky was because of the harassment.
I doubt that, Mrs. Pinnell.
It's true, Your Honor.
Miss Pinnell, I doubt it. Now, Mr. Pinnell, do you have a court date with regard to this relocation?
No, I don't.
You're just as happy to let it go.
Yes, he is.
I gather you're just as happy to let it go. That's a shame, sir. That's avoiding your responsibility. You made a child, and you're supposed to make a child that feels as if both parents love her. It's a big mistake for you. Listen, I'm not going to resolve this, but this is not a case for small claims court. It's a case for the family court. I'm sorry that I can't resolve it. All I have to do is tell you this. What you complain about in your case is not actionable, and neither is what you complain about in your case. In any event, your cases are not actionable in the small claims court arena.
Your Honor,
and it's a shame. Listen to me. Forget money. It's not going to happen for either one of you. If you want me to resolve when you're going to make a phone call, I'll do that. You want me to resolve that?
Yes.
Fine.
And I also have one other...
Fine. No. I don't want to hear you one more thing. Tuesday and Thursday, 7 o'clock in the evening, your daughter picks up the phone, or you pick up the phone and call her. Your daughter picks up the phone, not you.
Yes,
your
Your
daughter
Honor.
speaks to her father. Is that satisfactory? Tuesday and Thursday at 7 o'clock?
He works until 11:30, 12 o'clock at night.
So
that's
what is the time that you
weekends.
don't work? Not you speak. I'm
sorry.
I don't want you to speak.
Sorry.
You don't get it. It's not your business. You're a stranger.
Your Honor, the weekends, Saturday or Sunday.
Fine. What time, Saturday or Sunday?
He can call anytime Saturday.
No, I want a time so that there's no
7
prob-
o'clock.
7 o'clock in the
7
evening.
o'clock is
Got
fine.
it?
On
Yes, Your
Saturday.
Honor.
Got it? That's in 2 days, sir. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your daughter is going to be waiting for your phone call. Do you have her phone number?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Then call it. If your daughter doesn't pick up the phone at 7 o'clock, that is evidence that she is trying to further frustrate your contact with the child. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good.
Your Honor.
Speak not.
But his daughter's here.
Would you like to see her?
Oh, yes. Very much so.
Just you, not her. Do you understand? Just you. We'll make arrangements for you. Thank
Your
you.
Honor.
That's all.
All right, excuse, you may step out.
All that I wanted was my daughter to have a relationship with her father.
It's unfortunate that my daughter got stuck in the middle of it.
That's all that this was about.
She started the harassment first.
I'm hoping that he will want to see his daughter and have a relationship with his daughter.
He does want to have contact with the child. He doesn't want to have contact with her.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Engelhardt versus Sikowski. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Kimberly Engelhardt is suing her former friend, 21-year-old Denise Sikowski, for the cost of 2 tickets to a reggae festival.
Miss Engelhardt,
Yes.
according to the complaint that I read, a group of people were going to a concert, and the defendant was a friend of yours.
Correct.
You asked her if she wanted to join group at the concert. You say that Miss Sikowski said that she definitely wanted to go, along with her boyfriend. You put the pair of tickets on your credit card. Turns out that only Miss Sikowski went. You wanted to pay for both of the tickets. The remainder on her ticket. She didn't give you the full amount.
Yes.
Miss Sikowski says she only said she was ready to go to the concert, and her boyfriend hadn't committed to go to the concert, and if you didn't think long and hard enough about contacting him, then that's your problem, not hers. He didn't go. So, Miss Sikowski, is this the boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me your name.
I'm Chris Holton.
How old are you, Chris?
I'm 20.
And you?
21.
How long have you been a couple?
For almost 2 years.
Do you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
You live together in an apartment that you share?
We lived together in an apartment for a year, and then we live in a house now.
That you
together.
lease?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the concert?
The first weekend in August.
What kind of concert was it?
It was a reggae festival.
A reggae festival?
Yes, it was 3 day long.
Where do you stay?
You camp along the river, and wherever there's a place, you set up your tent.
Sounds delicious. Okay. Now, Miss Sikowski, when your friend Miss Engelhardt discussed it with you, tell me what you said to her.
Well, first of all, it was all 4 of us
at my apartment. And
4 of you, including this gentleman?
Yes, ma'am.
That's your boyfriend?
Yes.
And she asked us, she had already paid for all 4 of the tickets. And I said that that sounded lovely, and I wanted to go definitely. And Chris said that it sounded good, but he could not commit to it because he didn't know his financial state right then and if he had other plans going on.
Is that what he said?
I am not exactly sure what he said, but I remember that she agreed to wanting to go.
She said she wanted to go. Did she say she or they?
She said she wanted to go, but later on, before the concert started, she told me that they were both going to go.
When you say before the concert started, when did she tell you that they were both going to go?
Maybe it was in July.
In between this first conversation, which was in what month, by the way? The first conversation at your house?
I believe it was in May.
Between May and July, had you tried to sell either one or both of these tickets?
No, I didn't, because I assumed that she would like to purchase the ticket, if not both of them.
Okay, but it wasn't until July that she told you they were both going to go?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Holton.
Yes.
Tell me about your plans to go to this concert, sir.
Well, I never really had any official...
Look at me.
Never really had any official plans. She brought it up, like she said, in May. It sounded kind of interesting to me, but like this was months ahead of time. I never actually told her I would be going to the concert. I didn't even know if she actually had the tickets. We never said, hey, buy us the tickets and we'll pay you back.
Mr. Holton, 2 couples are going on a camping trip. Camping trip where they're going to share a tent and be away with each other for 3 days. And you want me to believe that you just weren't sure that you wanted to go with your live-in, with your significant other to this concert? Just because.
Well, I mean, honestly...
Judd, don't put your hand up. I'd like him to finish.
In all honesty, I never really wanted to go to a reggae festival. I'm not really into reggae music.
Did you tell that to your live-in?
Yeah, I don't think I really explained it to her that I wasn't going to go, but
Well,
I never...
I want you to explain to me what you explained to her, sir. If you didn't explain to her that you weren't going to go,
well,
how did you think somebody was going to read your mind that you weren't going to go?
Well, she wasn't trying to sell me a ticket. The plaintiff here is trying to sell a ticket to somebody that didn't want a ticket.
Now I'll hear you.
From the very beginning, Chris never said that he was going to take this ticket. He said it sounded like a good idea, but he said that he would never commit to the ticket. Kim and I had talked about this several times about him wanting the ticket, and I told her several times that Chris was not going to take the ticket, and I told Kim, if she wants to talk to him about it, then go for it. Call him, because she has the phone number. I ended up going to this place by myself.
I disagree with
30,000 people there.
Just a second. You didn't go there by yourself. According to the complaint that I read and your answer, you picked up his ticket. And you went with his ticket and yours. So you took 2 tickets.
Because it's $165. I would not want to leave under somebody's doorstep to be taken.
Why?
Because that was
What did
my
you,
friend.
What did you do with it?
My intentions were to give it back to her because...
Listen to me. You took both tickets. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Both tickets.
To give her one back.
I don't care what your intention was. You took both tickets.
It's $165 underneath somebody's doorstep.
That's not the problem. The problem is you took both tickets.
It would be my fault if it was lost in the first place.
Well, what did you do with it?
I took it with me, and I never found Kim. I tried calling her several times. I was there by myself. I ended up having to sleep on the side of a road because I could not find her to go camping with her, and I couldn't find her the second day. They wanted $80 for parking. I spent over $160 getting up to this festival, and then trying to find my friend. She never even called me to notify me where she was at or where her camping grounds were because we were supposed to camp together, and she never called me or anything.
Who's the we?
Myself, Kim, and her boyfriend.
Just the 3 of you?
Yes.
Did you know that it was just going to be the 3 of you camping together?
The day before that we left, I found out Chris wasn't going to go.
Just a second. Was that the first time you found out he wasn't going to go?
It might have been a day before, but it was within 24 hours of the concert.
Tell me who told you he wasn't going.
Denise told me that he wasn't going.
And what did you say to her?
I said, well, what are we going to do with that ticket? Because, you know, it was intended for him. I hadn't tried to give it to anybody else because I was under the assumption that
he was going until he had to do paperwork on the new house. talk over me.
Sorry.
So what did she say?
She told me that she was going to try to go up the next day because she had a lot of stuff going on. And I said, okay, that's fine. We would try to meet up at the concert. But what I didn't know was that there would be 20,000 people at this concert and that I wouldn't be able to find her.
How much did you lay out for those 2 tickets?
It was a total of $330 for both tickets.
And how much money did she give you?
She gave me $65.
Is that correct?
Yeah, no, Your Honor, that's not true. I paid her the full amount for that ticket.
No, that is not
Show
true.
me.
I paid her with cash.
She paid me $65.
Yeah,
and said, I'll give you the rest later, because she was paying me installments.
I paid her 2 installments.
1 installment.
I believe you, Miss Engelhardt. I believe you. I believe she gave you $65. You owe her $265. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Because it's obvious you can't really trust friends anymore.
It's quite stupid, actually, but she was the one that decided to end our friendship, and, you know, that's fine by me because she's a really shady person.
Leslie Rapp is suing her former friend and handyman, Brandon Hall, for check fraud and filing a false restraining order.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Hi. Case number 2046, Rapp versus Hall.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Rapp, not a very difficult case. The defendant was a friend of yours / did some work for you. It's not really relevant how you met him. It was sort of through a social situation. And it is your claim that over a period of time, Mr. Rapp forged your signature to several checks.
Correct.
And then when confronted by the fact that you've discovered these forgeries and asked him for money, he filed a restraining order against you to keep you away from him, and you say that the restraining order was a false one, and you want to be compensated for having to deal with that.
I do. I missed work.
Just a second. So I'm going to deal with the restraining order first. When did you file a restraining order, Mr. Hall?
I believe it was the 17th of July.
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
So not so long ago. I'd like to see the paperwork that you filed in support, just the paperwork that you gave to the court in support of your restraining order, why you were asking for a restraining order.
Okay.
Don't tell me, is that what you filed with the court?
Yes.
I'd like to see. So let's just be clear. You filed all these documents with the court when you asked for a restraining order?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've read some of the text messages, and you're aware of what the text messages say.
Yes.
I assume you're aware of what they say. Uncross your hands.
Oh, yes.
And that part of your application for damages as a result of filing a false restraining order is denied. You can't even suggest in a text message that you're going to do something violent in order to get him to pay money that you owe. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay, so as
Although
frustrated...
the restraining order was dismissed.
It doesn't matter. I'm telling you, I've read it, and some of your text messages sound threatening.
I was angry.
I understand you were angry. The question is not whether he should be granted a restraining order. I don't have to deal with that. I have to deal with the fact that in the text messages, you make certain threats. What if I could? And all that transpired at a time when the defendant reconciled with his wife and family. So, as I said, as a result of reading your text messages, I believe that Mr. Hall had the right to feel threatened and to file for a restraining order. Whether the court that heard the application for a restraining order felt that your behavior warranted a restraining order is another thing. But I can understand why he would file a restraining order to try to keep you away from him and his family.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Great! Now I want you to tell me why you forged her name to checks.
Because she...
$8,800 worth of checks. Now you have the right to file a restraining order.
Because she asked me to do this.
Because she asked you to forge her name to the checks.
Yes.
Okay, I want you to tell me when the first time she asked you to forge her name to a check. And I assume, just like you've kept all these documents.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a document to show me, just one. Because if you show me one,
I would tend to think that there were more. So just show me one where she said to you, forge my name to a check.
Okay.
Take the money out and forge my name to a check. Don't say anything. Just show me. Don't shake your head. It's annoying.
I believe this is the first one.
Okay. So in that one, she asks you to sign. Well, maybe. What are you showing me?
The check.
I don't want to see the check. You know how you kept these text messages that you texted back and forth and back and forth? I want you to show me, because you're methodical, one time out of the 6, 7 times that you forged her name to checks, show me one time where she said to you in a text message, in an Instagram, in a pigeon note, where she said to you, take out a check from my checkbook and forge my name to it because I want you to have money. Just show me.
I don't have
Of
something
course
like
not.
that. No.
Of course
No,
not.
I don't.
Now, the first time you forged her name to a check was what month and year?
I believe that it was December 9th.
Of 2021.
Yes, ma'am.
And what were you and Miss Rapp engaged in at that time that she told you to forge her name to a check?
Okay, so I'm an electrician, and I've been an electrician for 13 years. I've been doing side work all around my county, and there's a handful of liquor stores that trust me that I can go and cash personal checks that I get paid for doing my side work. Miss Rapp knew that, and...
Don't tell me what she knew.
Okay, all right. So she would be locked out of her account for one reason or the other, and she would ask me, like on a Friday, she wouldn't be able to get access to her money, and I knew she had money.
Well, she couldn't get access to her money, so these weren't your checks you wrote out. You wrote out her checks. It'd
Right.
be frozen out whether you went to take out money or she went to take out money.
Right. Also, on a Friday, the liquor store would not deposit these checks until Monday. So I cashed these checks for her to give her cash.
Did you ever have sex with the plaintiff?
No.
Do you think she wanted to have a relationship with you?
I think so. Okay. I don't know.
What makes you think so?
Well, the
text message.
The text message.
The text message that she
Yeah.
said to you. And who is Robert?
Is her ex-boyfriend?
And do you know Robert?
I do.
How do you know Robert?
I've known Robert for 20 years. Been friends.
And when did you start doing work for the plaintiff? Before or after Robert? Is not an answer.
It was after.
It was after.
Yes.
Okay. Give me an idea of when. You've cashed the first check in December of 2021. Give me some idea of when you were aware of the fact that the plaintiff and your dear friend of 20 years were no longer an item. Is not an
I
answer.
don't know what month he was arrested. So
Arrested for?
June, maybe.
Arrested for?
I don't know his charges.
I don't believe that.
Okay.
I want to...
Her friend and handyman, Brandon Hall, forged her checks and filed a false restraining order against her. Brandon says he had Leslie's permission to write the checks.
I'm just telling you, I don't believe that you don't know the charges of somebody who you were friendly with for 20 years and who was arrested. I don't believe that you don't know, because it belies credulity. Okay?
That's fine.
So before your dear friend of 20 years was arrested, did you ever cash any checks for her?
No.
After Robert was arrested? Yes. Did you ever do any work for her before Robert was arrested?
No.
When did you and your wife separate? Month and year?
Maybe February of 21.
And were you still together with Robert in February of 2021?
Yes.
And when did you and the lovely Robert separate?
Robert was removed from my life August 11th of 21.
The defendant acknowledges in his answer that he forged your name, not only your name, your signature, but wrote out checks, actually wrote out in his own handwriting, checks in the amount of $8,800.
Yes.
And he acknowledges that, but he says they were because you asked him to, or it was for work he did for you. Those were your answers, right?
No, these checks were not for any jobs that I did for her. They were strictly to get access to some of her money during the weekends and stuff. And then when she was out of town as well.
Get her access to her money and when she was out of town.
When she was out of town,
if you cashed her checks when she was out of town, how did she get money?
I Venmo'd the money to her.
Okay, so that you have a record of, that you Venmo'd the money to her.
Yes.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it.
Here you go. Here's all the Venmo deposits. Her sending me
To
money.
her. No, not just a second. try not to confuse me. I'm an old person. I want to see only the monies, because she's going to show me the checks that you forged. And contemporaneously, which is a close period of time, with those forged checks, you would have put the money in her Venmo account.
On a couple of different occasions, yes.
Just a second. Just show me those cases. She's going to take out the checks that you forged. And those checks should coincide date-wise with the Venmo transactions. Am I doing that right?
Venmo. Yeah.
Venmo.
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't see where I have the ones that I deposited in her account. These seem to all be her depositing into my account.
Duh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I do have.
So let us understand this, Ms. Rapp. Did you ever give him permission? The answer is yes or no.
No.
Did you file a police report?
Yes, I did.
You did. I'd like to see a copy of the police report.
I have.
Then we're in good shape. Mr. Hall, how many weekly payments did you make to her on Friday?
I have a list of that from.
From February.
This is from Mrs. Rapp in.
No, I'm asking you.
Yeah.
I'm asking you, how many payments did you make for writing these unauthorized checks to her?
Seven.
And what was the total amount of those checks?
$3,700.
Why in the world would you pay her $3,700?
If you could look in those messages, I was being. She was saying she was going to put me in jail for doing things.
For forgery.
Okay.
For forgery.
Right.
And you asked her not to.
Right.
And you said, I'll pay you back.
Right.
Right. I'll pay you back. Just give me some time. I have 2 kids to support.
Right.
Is that what you said to her?
Yes.
$8,800 judgment for the plaintiff. We're done here.
Please adjourn.
Well, I'm happy about the outcome because
I think it's bogus, man.
I really need the money.
Because she started all this craziness as soon as I went back to my wife.
There was never a relationship between the two of us.
After that, when she started doing all this, is when I went and filed for a restraining order.
He did that as a direct retaliation for the police report I filed.
She's gonna have to call somebody else for sure.
It's definitely time for a new handyman.
Just a casual note.
Yeah.
I have been with my husband, your grandfather, for almost 50 years. And we each have our bank account, and then we have a joint bank account. I have never either asked him or given him permission to sign my signature to a check.
Yep.
He hasn't never asked or given me permission to sign his signature on one of his checks. Mm-hmm. Now, we may ask each other, listen, it's busy, I'm going to go through these checks. We're making all these checks out to the doorman and to Christmas time and whatever, and then I'll sign them. Just doesn't happen. So
Doesn't make sense.
Right. And so what it is to any job that you do, whether it's a lawyer or a judge, you bring with you your own common sense and your own life's history. I hope that works, because I cannot imagine somebody saying, write out a check for yourself. I don't know you, we're not involved, we're not married, go help yourself to a check and write it out. I can't.
For car damages and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2003, Gaines versus Gaines.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Ms. Gaines, you and the defendant are half-sisters. You share the same father.
Yes.
Have you always had a relationship with your father?
Yes.
And you, Ms. Gaines?
Yes.
There came a time when you were living with your dad.
Yes.
From when to when were you living with your dad?
From October 2018 to December 2021.
And who was living at the same residence?
It was me, my dad, and a roommate, my dad's roommate.
No children?
Yes, my children stayed there as well. I do apologize.
Well, that's important.
Sorry.
How many children?
I have 4 daughters.
How old are they?
11, 10, 4, and 5.
Were you working?
Yes.
From 18 to 21?
I stopped working in November 2019, and I started back working October 21.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for United Healthcare. I'm a customer service rep for Optum.
Just so that I get a sense, because this is a family issue, you clearly had a life before you moved to your father's house in 2018. Can you tell me why you moved into your father's house in 2018?
Because where I was living, the house was smaller, and my dad felt like he wanted me and my children to be in a safer environment.
So you had an ongoing, constant relationship with him?
Yes.
And Ms. Gaines, tell me about you. Did you ever live with your father?
I lived with my father when I was in the 9th grade.
But not since you were a child?
No.
Did you maintain a relationship with him?
I did. Me and my father do mechanic work together most of the time, so I'm at his house a lot.
Was that a business that you had together?
Just more so for fun, family time. If he needed help, I could go in and assist him. I just used that as extra time.
And that was consistent and up through 2021?
Yes.
So you saw your sister there? Because she was living there with her children?
Yes. On occasion, though, her and her kids would be out more often. I would just go and visit my dad when the house was empty and he needed more company and help and assistance because he was there alone.
How old was he?
He's about 24 years older than me, so I believe he's like 59 now.
Did you see your sister at your father's house in the years that you were living there?
She came to visit, yes.
And they worked together on mechanical stuff?
I never saw that. Me and my sister, we had a close relationship, so she would come over and hang out with me all the time.
Okay, good. And then, unfortunately, something happened. You want to tell me when that was and what it was?
October, I believe it was the 30th. Me and my sister, we got into an altercation.
Tell me the beginnings of it, because each of you claimed that the other harassed, claimed your sister assaulted you, and both of you claimed some damage to automobiles that was caused by the other during the course of these altercations. Okay, so tell me what happened in October.
So the Thursday prior to the 30th, which was a Saturday in October, my sister was supposed to come to my house and do my kids' hair. But that was something that I had just asked her to do. Like we said, I stayed with my dad. They were having some issues, so
Who was having issues?
My sister and my dad.
Were you having issues with your father around that time?
I was told I was having issues with my father at that time by my sister Jessica.
Did you discuss it with your father?
I did, and I found out that that was a lie that Jessica had told him, was making up lies to make us not like each other.
Okay, so there was some bad feeling about that.
Right, so I was inviting her over because she was struggling, and I needed my kids' hair done for picture day. So
She was what?
Struggling.
Struggling.
Financially.
Okay.
So I offered to pay her to do my kids' hair. My dad did inform me that she wasn't able to come to the house, that I needed to go to her house. And I don't really know what her situation was like over there, so I let my dad know I was uncomfortable. And I also let her know our dad said it was not okay for you to come over here with us today. And he wanted an apology.
He wanted an apology?
Yes.
From her?
Yes.
Is your father well?
He has diabetes and...
Okay, but there's nothing preventing him from coming to court. Okay, well then you can't tell me what he told you because that's hearsay. Did your sister come over to the house on October 30th?
Yes.
Approximately what time?
I believe 11:30 in the morning.
Had you had a conversation with her that morning and told her not to come over?
Yes.
Did you tell her why?
Oh, I can't speak on it because he's not here.
No,
I don't.
My question is, did you tell your sister why?
Yes.
What did you tell your sister?
That our dad would not want her there.
Is that what she told you?
That is what she told me.
Did you ask her why?
I did.
What did she tell you?
She told me that my dad was under the impression that I was hanging out with drug dealers and dangerous people, and that he didn't want me around.
Did you call your father?
I did.
And you had a discussion with him?
I did.
Were you invited over to the house?
I called.
That's either a yes or a no?
No.
So now you have information, whether accurate or not, that you weren't welcome in your father's house for whatever reason, or for the reason that was articulated to you. You called your father to confirm that, and your father did, in fact, confirm that.
He confirmed that there was a issue between Jessica and I, and that we needed to resolve it. He was not going to get involved with it, but he did not confirm that I was denied access to his house.
Well, just from my information, what did you think the issue was between you and your sister?
She was lying to my father.
Well, no, your father didn't say that your sister's lying to me. Your father had to have indicated to you that these are the things that I'm being told, and you have to resolve that with your sister.
Yes.
But your father told you not to come to the house.
No, he did not tell me not to come to the house.
Did he suggest you come to the house?
Neither. He neither suggested I come or not to. He just said I should
resolve it with her.
Yes.
Okay. And you went over there that morning?
I stated to her that I would come over and resolve it right then and there.
You told him?
They were both on the phone. Okay. I called his cell phone.
Did your sister, then your sister said, I'm going to come over, and you knew she was coming?
Yes, she said.
Okay, that's a yes. You knew she was coming, so this wasn't a surprise visit. You knew she was coming. Now tell me what happened when she got there.
So when she gets there, me and my dad were standing outside already. She gets out of her car. I approach her car. It's a little back and forth, and then...
No, tell me the back and forth, and try to keep your voice up.
Sorry. So when I approach her car, she jumps out the car. Then she reaches for a taser. So then I close her in the door. And once my dad, we're outside together, he pulls me off the door. She then takes her car, it's a video. She's attempting to run me over with her car. She did manage to run over my foot. I then went in the house. I got a broomstick, like an attachment, like the broom wasn't attached. But I've got the broomstick, and I went outside and I started swinging it at her car. And I damaged the hood of her car and the window.
And then she left?
No. She stayed at the house. I went back in the house. She called the police, and I'm not sure what happened after she called the police.
Well, did the police arrive?
My dad informed me that we didn't know what she was telling the police, that when police come, everybody gets arrested. So he said, I had something to do that day, go get a facial at an appointment at 1 o'clock. So I just went ahead and headed off to that.
So you left?
Yes.
You knew she called the police and you left?
Yes.
Leaving your dad to explain to the police what happened?
My dad didn't talk to the police neither.
So they just came?
As far as I know, they just came, knocked on the door. When I called to see if there was a report made, the police said no report was made. That was it.
Okay, fine. So the damage that was done to your car was done with a broomstick handle?
Yes.
To her car?
Yes.
By you?
Yes.
Now, Miss Gaines, did you have a taser in your car?
I don't own a taser.
And when you got to the house, your father was standing with her?
No.
Where was he?
He was exiting the house. She was already, when I pulled up, she was exiting the house.
But he was outside?
She was already at the sidewalk when I pulled up. Okay. So he was at the door.
Well, why don't you tell me your version of what happened when you pulled up?
I pulled up. I was recording the incident on my phone. I don't have that recording because it was on Instagram. I didn't want the embarrassment to go on any longer. I tried to screen record it, but it didn't save.
Okay, so you don't have video?
I don't have that full video. I do have a short video of her actually attacking the car with the stick that she came out of the house with, though. So I do have that.
I'd like to look at it.
I have the full video.
Okay, I'd like to see hers, and thank you for telling me you have the full video.
Okay.
I think the full video might be more sufficient because I have bits and pieces of the video.
Kevin, I'm going to take both. Would you pull up the video that you have on your phone?
We're going to go over to my family member's house right now to find out why we want to fight me. She has literally did everything in her possibility to make my dad my enemy. She has moved into his house, told him I'm on drugs. My family have come up with the excuse that I'm on drugs, and that's why nobody has come to see me. Yeah, do it. I'm on live.
First, Miss Gaines, you do understand that you damaged your sister's car?
Yes.
Okay, and that you have to pay for that.
Jessica Gaines claims her sister, Joanne Gaines, vandalized her car and harassed her. Joanne is countersuing for an assault and filing a false restraining order against her.
Okay, Miss Gaines, you do understand that you damaged your sister's car?
Yes.
Okay, and that you have to pay for that?
She sued me for the damages already.
She sued you. Did she get the damages?
Yes.
Oh.
She was granted.
Okay. Okay, so you sued her already and you got a judgment?
Yes, for that incident.
For this damage?
But not the damage that would happen on December the 12th.
Just a second.
Sorry.
Okay, so we don't have to deal with this damage. And subsequent to this damage that you caused to your sister's car, you had damage to your car?
Yes.
And tell me what that was.
So on 3 different occasions, she came to my house and popped both of my tires on the driver's side of my car.
Okay. And this was after October 30th?
Yes.
You'd been living at your father's house for 3 years?
Yes.
With your children. During that 3-year period of time, was your car ever damaged?
No.
Did you ever have tires popped on the car?
No.
Did you confront your sister at any time about the damage to your car?
No.
According to this, you have a video of her near your car
Yes.
On one of those occasions?
Yes.
I'd like to see it. Before I even look at it, Ms. Gaines, you received a judgment and were compensated for the damage to your car caused by your sister.
Mm-hmm.
Do you acknowledge that you or someone acting on your behalf flattened her tires?
One tire.
Okay. So you say you flattened them one time.
One tire, one time.
And when?
Right before November.
Okay. And what did you flatten the tires with?
Knife.
So
Just
you
one
slashed.
tire.
She did say tires, didn't
Just
she?
one
Whitney?
tire.
She said one tire, one time.
Okay. And that was in November?
Beginning of November.
Did you pay for that tire?
I did not.
And do you have photographs of the flattened tires?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at them. How many times were they flattened?
My tires were flattened 3 times.
Tires. How many tires the first time?
2.
How many tires the second time?
Sorry, I just want to make sure. 2.
How many tires the third time?
2.
And you filed a case against your sister for damage to your car on what date?
This is the court case I filed for damages for my car. Well, originally I just filed for...
When did she file the case, against you for damages to her car?
December 16th.
And your tires had already been flattened how many times?
3.
Do you have a bill for those tires?
Yes. Well, I had took the receipt before, so I don't have the receipt, but I have the police report where the police...
No, I want to see the receipt.
I'm sorry.
I need damages. You want damages, you have to show me that you spent money to replace the tires and how much they cost.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When I went to court, when she was suing me for her car, I just took the receipts as proof, and when the judge took it, I never got it back.
Did you countersue her for the tires when
No.
she sued you?
No.
Well, why would the judge take your receipts for the tire?
Because he took all of our evidence at the end of the case.
No. The only reason a court would take your evidence is if you had a counterclaim for your damage.
I'm new to the court thing, so I didn't know to countersue. So when I had to file paperwork, so when I went to court on our court date, I was just letting the judge know, like, look, she did these damages to me. I didn't file a countersue claim. I didn't know I had to do that.
The judge looked at it and didn't return that to you?
He said any evidence that we wanted to be taken into consideration, to leave it with him. And I left it with him.
And what kind of tires did you purchase?
I believe they say Bridgestone on them.
And what's the name, make, and model of your car?
It's a 2005 Cadillac Escalade.
Can you get me any information about that, Sarah? Cost of cars, 2000 Escalade, what kind of tires it uses? Okay, so the harassment that you're talking about by your sister, because that's the other part of your claim. The vandalism is one, which Sarah is looking up now. The damages for harassment were the tires being slashed, is that right?
A part of it, yes.
Well, what's the other part?
Well, when I filed for the restraining order, the judge said it sounded like a family matter, so it didn't.
So the court dismissed it?
Yes. So on December 24th, which was Christmas Eve, I woke up and my tires were popped again. So I then asked my dad, is it okay if I record you reaching out to my sister, asking her to leave me alone so that if I do go to court again, I have some evidence? Because again, my dad didn't come to court back then. And he was like, I don't think I can do that because then she'll start messing with me and I can't afford to be down in the morning.
Okay.
And then I was just like, okay, well, at that point, I didn't feel safe there no more because she had already called Children's Services on me. And then every 2 weeks, my tires were being popped. I really couldn't afford it.
I got it. Do you recall how much you spent for each tire?
Each tire was $120.
So you spent a little over $700?
Yes.
Okay.
That's about right from what I'm seeing.
So, Ms. Gaines, let me tell you how I'm going to rule on her request for damages for her car. But I believe that some things make sense and some things don't. And if somebody has an MO of slashing tires as their reaction to having their car damaged, and if you acknowledge doing it and doing it one time, it is not a giant leap from my imagination that you caused the same damage to all 6 of her tires. I don't find that a giant leap. I think the whole thing is foolish, and I actually don't see the basis for coming out with a broomstick, except that you were angry and lashing out at her car. You could have stayed in your house and called the police. There was no reason for you to come out of the house at all, except to confront your sister. You had an application for a restraining order against your sister?
This is correct.
And you had a trial on that?
This is correct.
And you were granted a restraining order?
Yes.
For how long?
6 months.
And that expired?
It hasn't expired yet. This was an incident. It was caused by her coming to my house after court.
Okay.
And causing more damage.
Okay. So I think that she had the right to file for a restraining order against you because part of your action is filing false restraining order. Part of your case was for vandalism to your car, but that was already done in another court.
That was part of the first case. We've been going since October.
Okay.
Jessica Gaines accuses her sister, Joanne Gaines, of slashing her tires. Joanne claims she needed to file a restraining order against Jessica.
Okay, let's get to the assault part of your claim that I would like to hear. First, I watched the video, and I have to tell you, Miss Gaines, that in my judgment, what you took a big whiff of was a blunt. Is that what they call that?
That is.
Okay. And that's what was in the video, and that's while you were on your way over there and very, very angry and driving a car and lost in a sea of smoke. Do you understand? And I think that that's both foolish, bad judgment, dangerous to drive a car that way.
I agree, I'm sorry.
And shows an absolute lack of judgment. So I would think about that kind of behavior. Again, if I were you, you want to tell me when and under what circumstances your sister assaulted you and where you were hospitalized or treated medically?
When I pulled up to the house, she had asked me to jump out of the vehicle. How
did she ask you to jump out of the vehicle?
She was standing on the sidewalk. I was putting the car in park, and she stated, hop out. And I said, okay, I guess we're hopping out.
Well, that was sort of silly. If somebody said to you, hop out, I would stay in the car.
I'm trying to talk to my dad.
Okay. Well, you talk to your dad later when things have calmed down and you're not high on weed.
I understand that you...
You got the damages for your car by way of a judgment. I've awarded you for the tires $726. $726 for the tires. That's the judgment of the court. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I only slashed her tires one tire, like I stated.
It was fair.
There's no receipts that were presented, so they were never damaged.
We got it, we got the proof, so.
She stated that I ran her over by the car, but she was walking back into her house. How are you walking if your foot got ran over by a car?
It's embarrassing.
Jealousy, maybe I don't feel that way. This is my younger sister. I love my younger sister. I don't wish that this wasn't even going on.
I really hope we have a better relationship going forward. I hope this is all over and behind us.
Yeah, there's no more family for me, I guess.
We're siblings. Siblings go through stuff.
So, my Sarah, the case to me, we've seen it before, siblings fighting, very unfortunate. So I'm going to ask you a question because I know I come from a separate generations, 3 down from you.
Okay.
And I've already accepted the fact that many states in this country have voted in favor of legislation which suggests that marijuana is a legal substance and decriminalizing it. Fine, just like alcohol.
Yes.
That's what my grandchildren tell me. You drink alcohol, we do something else. But am I crazy? Because I watched that video, and to me that was the most interesting part of the video. And then she took this big cigar thing, which I found out what those were called back in my family court days. And it's interesting that I could recall it, called a blunt. Tell me what you think. Would it be no different if she took a big bottle of vodka from the passenger seat and took a couple of swigs before she got to a fight?
Yeah.
Okay, I want your take on that.
Yeah, even as a different generation, there's responsibilities and regulations and rules, the same with alcohol. So while it might be legalized, decriminalized in many states, you still have to follow the rules and act responsibly. I think there are different physiological effects.
Would you say that there was any jurisdiction in this country where you could smoke marijuana while you were driving?
I think it's still considered under the influence, which is just as bad as driving under the influence of alcohol. So I think it impairs your judgment all the same. And showing up to a fight high, I think, is equivalent to showing up drunk. And
even if you were going to a party.
Yeah. You're behind the wheel of tons of weight and something that could be used as a deadly weapon. Yeah. So you got to be as sharp as you can.
Yeah. Just from this interaction, you're absolutely right legally, but I'm not getting the outrage.
No, outrageous. I think it is.
Okay.
I think driving under the influence of marijuana, alcohol, outrageous.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad you...
Yenny Pajaro is suing his ex-girlfriend, Gigi Strackman, for a plane ticket, credit card charges, and a stolen cat.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2016, Pajaro versus Stratman.
Mr. Perari, it is your claim that the defendant, who lived with you for a brief period of time, owes you money for a plane ticket and for her unauthorized use of your credit card.
That's correct.
I don't know what the defense is to this, except that I think her defense is that you were just stupid and she took advantage of you. No. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm actually trying to figure it out. But you met the defendant, according to you, on an online dating app and started a conversation with her on what date?
So we met in March 2020 on a dating app for LGBTQ people. We started dating in March 2020. 4 months later, she moved in with me, which I know is not smart, but...
July?
Yes, in July 2020.
And where had she been living?
She had been living in Florida.
And where do you live?
I live in Seattle, Washington.
Did you send her money for a plane ticket? How did she get to you?
She had money herself at that time to cover the cost of moving.
So she moved and it was her own funds that she used to move?
Yeah, the swindling hadn't started yet.
You must have had some substantial What is this? What is this look? I don't know what this look is.
Oh, it's just the verbiage.
Okay, well, let me go back and let me start with you, okay? Because there's only one theatrical person here in this room, and that's me. Do you understand?
I do.
I get paid the big bucks to be theatrical. Okay, so Miss Stratman, you lived in Miami. He lived in Seattle, Washington. You decided to move in with him. What kind of work were you doing in Seattle?
I was a video editor, but when COVID happened, everyone kind of lost their jobs.
And what arrangements did you make with him when you were going to move in with him?
He told me that if I gave up my life in Florida, I had a very lovely apartment, lots of friends.
You had a lovely apartment, you had
I
nice
gave up
friends,
everything to
but
go
no
and
job.
move to Seattle.
Okay, so he said, move to Seattle and I'll take care of you.
Yes.
That's what you say in here.
Yes.
And that was in July of 2020.
Yes.
Is that about what you said to her?
No. The reason she moved in, again, it was 4 months after we started dating, which normally...
Had you seen her during those 4 months?
We had Zoom.
That's either yes or no?
No.
No, you had no physical contact with her?
No.
Okay.
But because we were in lockdown and we were both pretty isolated, it made sense. Her lease was ending and things moved really fast between us, so we decided to try it together. Yeah.
Okay. Was there any discussion about what she was going to do once she got to Seattle?
Yeah, so as she stated, she was a freelance video editor, and she said she was going to potentially have more work in Seattle and continue to try and find gigs for that or find other employment, drive for Uber Eats.
But she came to you and she wasn't working?
She wasn't working, no.
Okay. And the relationship with her ended in what month?
It ended in February 2021.
So it was a relatively short live-in period, maybe 6-7 months.
Right, because of her.
Did she ever work when she was with you?
Not that I
Just a second, I'm going to ask her. Did you ever have full-time gainful employment during the time that you lived with the plaintiff?
I did not. I was not supposed to.
I didn't ask you. I don't ask to be editorialized. I asked you, did you ever work full-time?
No.
Did you ever work part-time?
No.
Okay. Then there came a time, according to what I read in both of your papers, that he purchased a plane ticket for you to go back to Miami. That would be a yes.
That is correct. You're right.
And what month was that?
That was in February of 2021.
And tell me, in your own words, what you told him as to why you wanted to go to Miami, because he wasn't going with you.
He was not going with me.
Tell me what you told him as to why you needed to go to Miami.
I told him that I needed to visit my sister.
And does your sister live in Miami?
Yes.
Had you been there to visit her before?
I had, yeah.
While you were living with him?
No. I didn't travel.
So this was the first time you wanted to go and visit your sister?
Yes.
Okay, was there any specific reason that you gave him as to why you wanted to go visit your sister?
She was sick and I wanted to be there.
But did you tell him what she was sick with?
Yeah, it was COVID.
Does she live alone?
At the time, yes.
You know, it's not going to be easy. It's going to get harder. Now, the plaintiff seems like a relatively intelligent human being. Hands off hips. If somebody I lived with say, I want to go and see, unless it was a young child, maybe in a school or something that lived alone in an attic dormer, I want to go see my sister who's sick with COVID, and you don't have COVID, and this is 2021, I would say, well, why would you do that and put yourself at risk and then come back and put me at risk? Didn't you have that conversation?
We didn't, Your Honor, no. It just didn't come up.
I want to go take care of my sister because she has COVID? What about isolation? Did you ever hear about that?
I did hear about that. I spent a lot
Well,
of
what do you
time
think that means?
Isolation means not traveling.
No, isolation means you're not supposed to be around other people if you test positive for COVID. If you're sick, stay at home. You don't travel cross country to be with somebody who's sick. But it doesn't make any difference, actually, because you should have picked up on that or whatever, because you didn't really want this ticket, according to what I read, Miss Strackman, to go and visit your sick sister. You needed this ticket because you had started to become involved with a boyfriend who was in jail in Florida.
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. So that's a yes, which you didn't tell him. So you took the money from him for, let's just start with the ticket, under false pretenses.
I did, but
Just a second. That's all. I did. Not a but. Not a little. I did take the money from him under false pretenses when you went to Florida. He said you needed it for one thing, and in fact, you didn't. That's under false pretenses. How much was the ticket?
The ticket was for $427.40.
Okay. And when you went to Florida, Miss Strackman, and you stayed in a hotel, motel, what did you stay in?
I stayed in a hotel.
And whose charge account did you use for the hotel?
Yenny had given me a credit card.
That's not what I asked you. That's a name. Whose credit card did you use when you stayed at the hotel?
The plaintiff, Yenny's.
Mm-hmm. And that was by pre-arrangement with him that you were going to stay in a hotel rather than with your sister?
No, but I had the credit card for...
Now, that's not what I mean. Let's go back. You had the credit card. I'm assuming for the purpose of this question that what you say, and I don't know if it's true, but assuming for this question that what you say in your answer is accurate, that he gave you a credit card to use for your necessaries and expenses for emergencies.
Yes.
Yes. You would agree that going to visit secretly another boyfriend in Miami is not a necessity.
You would agree that Yenny cheating on me was not a necessity.
No. But did you use his credit card?
I did, and I believe that human love and kindness.
Okay, just a second. That's it. Do I look like I need help from you? If you had given him, Miss Strackman, a credit card, I want you to try to take everything else from out of your mind. If you had given him your credit card and said, I'm giving this to you because I said to you I would take care of you when we lived together if you didn't have a job. Let's say I believe that. I'm not so sure, but let's say I believe that. You would agree that going to see another boyfriend across the country was not a necessity for him or for me or for Whitney
for you, no,
or for Sarah.
For me, I'm a woman with needs. I need dopamine. I need love. I need connection, and I wasn't getting that from Yenny. So it was a necessity that I went to go visit another man. Yenny had other girls as well on the side.
But you didn't. Just a second, Miss Strackman. You didn't pay for the other girls. You didn't pay for his other girls.
I paid emotionally.
Oh, you said, what an idiot.
Yenny Pajaro claims his ex-girlfriend, Gigi Strackman, owes for the cost of a plane ticket, credit card charges, and stealing his cat. Gigi says they were all necessary expenses for her.
Now, you should feel so lucky that you got off so cheap.
I think you should assume everything that comes out of her mouth.
No. Yeah.
Because if I had, I wouldn't be here.
I get who I'm dealing with,
Yes.
sir. $427 for the flight ticket. How much was the credit card?
The credit card, also there's an incident with my cat as well, which...
Just a second.
I'll address later.
Well, I'm going to get to that in a minute. That's your least strong suit, but it sort of tells me again who I'm dealing with. Okay. How much did she use on the credit card in Miami?
Okay.
So only in Miami.
Right. In Miami, she spent $1,000 on...
Now, just a second. Is that a sheet from your credit card company?
Yes.
I'd like to see it. Easier.
Would you like me to add the $427 for the flight ticket?
Yeah. Let's separate the two for me now. Mm-hmm. Okay. Giving these, just show me where the bills are.
So those are two separate credit card statements because she used it in 2 separate months. One of those is when she initially started using it, which was...
I don't care when she initially started. Let's understand.
Yeah.
She got your credit card.
Yes.
I only want to see the charges from Miami.
Okay. It's the one that says bail bonds, the bigger charge, which was...
Just circle.
Okay.
How much?
That was for $1,000, but overall it was...
No, $1,000. We're going to do it this way. $1,000 bail bonds.
Yes.
Okay, next.
And then she spent $262.50 at A hotel for both of them.
$250 for a hotel.
And then she spent $105 on a fancy dinner for her and her lover.
And her what?
And her lover.
Okay. 150?
150 is not fancy. That's the kind of person you're dealing with.
150. I don't think there's a question before you, madam. 10, 4, $1,400 there. Is that close?
Including the 1,000?
Including the 1,000, but then not including the 425.
Yeah.
So it would be 1,827.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. Now let's get to the final issue. So that takes care of your plane ticket and the credit card while she was in Miami. Now let's talk about the cat. Ms. Strackman, you moved in with the plaintiff July of 20.
Yes.
And when you moved in with the plaintiff, did he have a cat?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And what was that cat's name?
That cat's name is Momo.
And you lived with him a total of approximately 6 months.
Yes, Your Honor. And during that time, the cat...
No, I didn't ask you any questions. There's no question before
Daddy.
you. There's no question before you. I have dates. You moved in, you lived with him for 6 months. When you moved in, the cat was there. And if you could recall, in what month and year had you gotten the cat?
I got Momo right before she moved in with me as an emotional support animal, which is legally protected.
When you say right before she moved in with you, give me the month.
It was
and where did you get the cat from?
June 2020. I adopted her from a shelter.
So you didn't have the cat long?
No.
When she moved in?
No.
And then the two of you had the cat?
Yes.
Okay,
but
great.
The cat was
and then when she, just a second, then when she left in February of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We are now in August of 2022, and you recently filed this case with regard to your cat.
Right. I didn't know where she was.
Just a second.
Disappeared.
I don't care.
Okay.
You recently filed this case with regard to the cat. Did you make a police report when she left with the cat?
I don't.
The answer is either yes or no.
I don't like involving the police, so no. I didn't want to ruin her life.
Oh, well, I want to tell you something. I have a small 4-pound dog at home. I love that creature more than anything in the world, except my grandchildren, my husband, and my children. Hope there are enough life rafts for everybody, including the dog.
I did try to hire a private investigator in Florida, but I didn't know where she was.
Okay, you didn't report it to the police, and I do have a problem with that. Now, Ms. Strackman, you knew when you moved into him he had this cat that he had adopted.
Yes, Your Honor.
I want you to tell me what led you to believe you had the legal right to take that cat?
Because that cat had become severely bonded to me. Yenny was neglecting both of us, both of the women in his life he chose to neglect.
Because I was working and
No, just a second. Don't.
Sorry, I paid for everything.
And so the cat.
So he was neglecting the cat and you, so you decided maybe half a neglect, you could be one whole person.
Exactly. Me and her just getting out of here and gonna go start a new life together. I spent day and night with that cat. That cat was extremely bonded to me. She would be devastated without me.
Tell me how the cat died in your custody. Tell me how the cat died in your custody. That's not a smile story.
It's not. No, it's absolutely devastating. I am completely torn up about it. Unfortunately, my boyfriend's dog was not accustomed to cats and mistook her for a toy, and she did not survive that.
What kind of a dog did your boyfriend have?
We don't know the breed. I've never done the genetic testing.
Do you have a picture of the dog?
I do not. I didn't bring any evidence. I was hoping you just used
brought your smile. Okay.
She's not with her boyfriend.
She said, I didn't ask you a question. There's no question before you.
Love transcends bars.
Okay. 1827, $1,000 for taking his cat, and because you're a fool. 7, 2, 8, 2827. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. We're done here.
This court is adjourned.
First of all, I'm glad, and I think justice was served. I'm not for Momo, but for the other scams that Jacqueline pulled.
Then I need dopamine, I need oxytocin, I need love, I need care.
Well, credit card fraud.
And Yenny said that they were going to be the person who was going to give that to me.
Deception, played with my heart.
And then didn't, so I had to find it elsewhere.
It was incredibly, this was Momo.
I did not have the cat killed. I was very attached to Momo. That was my cat as well.
It was incredibly hard to deal with. I was also alone when I had to process that news, so.
I did not set a hitman out on the cat. That's a lot to say.
She saw me as a sugar daddy, and she saw herself as a wannabe Anna Nicole Smith. Unfortunately, neither of us are those things.
Could I plead the fifth on finding another sugar daddy?
Yet another lesson we learned about cohabitants living together and the rules of what not to do. No cars, no pets, no money exchanges.
No joint pets, no joint.
Exactly. But today we learned a new one. Today, don't give access to your credit card to anyone that you don't want racking up charges for any purpose, even to visit a secondary lover in another state.